Geese stocks dropping. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of In the Den with myself, and HotBoySpicy. How are you doing,
Hi.
Spicy?
I am doing lovely because we're talking about Mushoku Tensei, one of my
Yeah,
favorite
always.
stories ever. Yay!
It's
Yay!
I was telling you before where it's like because we had to delay it a little bit, or like because we were going to record it yesterday, and I was just thinking about how it's like, well, regardless of how things are going for me, after this recording I could just read more Mushoku Tensei.
Exactly. We'll
Because I've
always be
been
there
waiting
for
to do
us.
that. It's like, I mean, it's literally getting into the final arc.
Yep. Yep.
As mentioned, and or just because yeah, as we talked about, next time is only going to be volumes 22 and 23, and then we're going to do one more reading for 24 through 26, and then of course the actual final reading of the extra stuff. But obviously 24 to 26 is like the end of the fucking story.
Yeah.
So but yeah, unsurprisingly, I am still into it to the point, especially with some of the things like revealed this reading, and like how the final arc is starting like to look, and it's and like oh god, oh god, yeah, it was like I definitely read several of these novels like in large chunks,
Yeah.
as usual, as seems to be usual now, where it's like I'll just read two chapters. That's my usual like schedule of 2 chapters a day. And then I think for volume 21 I read chapters 3 through 8 in one day, and then because it's like, oh, I'll just read another one. Oh, and then something happens, and it's like, well, fuck, I gotta read more now. That's like the usual cycle. So
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I read volume 21 in one day, but I was like,
you had to be in the sense of like you were like, because I think I told you within the last week, it's like, can we record this day? I'm done, and you're like, okay, I'll finish by then. So of course there's a level of like, oh,
yeah,
no,
okay, a little
maybe
bit,
I'm wrong.
but
Maybe I'm
I
wrong.
will say I was not going to finish it that day. I was just like, I'm going to read like maybe a third of it or half of it, half at
Okay,
most.
okay, gotcha.
Well, I ended up reading all of it because I was really into it. So I was also
So
sick too, so
okay,
yeah,
okay.
I was kind of out of commission, so not much to do anyway but read. So yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
I understand what peak fiction can do to you and how much it can rip you in. Also, speaking of peak, I've noticed. Thank you guys for watching and commenting. Like I've noticed, like the views are like surprisingly up on like somehow our last episode has a bit more views even than our volumes 13 through 15, and
Huh.
that episode has like
Oh yeah, you're right.
almost double all the
Oh
other
yeah,
episodes
yeah.
in terms of views for obvious reasons. But the fact that like this last one got even more views, like thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope that persists. I hope the most viewed Mushoku Tensei podcast episode that we have is volumes 24 through 26.
It's
Hope you
I
guys
would
stick around for that.
imagine. I mean, it's probably going to be
Yeah.
4 hour discussion. Let's be real. But
Mm-hmm.
um, as it probably, I haven't gotten to that part, but as it probably deserves. But it's just like no, yeah, we're getting to interesting parts of the story. Like I definitely agree. Like I was like volume 15 can't be that good, but I definitely think as far as not only just that novel still being my single favorite one so far, I would say. Maybe. But like it's just, yeah, like just the second half just feels different with the stakes and the events, and it just, I don't know, it's really like, I don't know, again, it's exciting having more of a picture of what's going on and where the story's going,
Mm-hmm.
and that in itself is contributing factor to propelling me to reading more of it when I don't have to read as quickly as I am, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I would actually agree with that too. I think volume 15 is still probably, when we're reducing it to single volumes, volume 15 is probably the best as of right now. 17 is, I think, a second for me, followed by probably a novel from one of the, probably like 21, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like as far as like full readings, I don't know if this is my favorite one, because like 13 to 15 is hard to match up to, but it's very fucking close, if not more better. So because it's like because obviously the last rating was also really good, like 17 was really fucking good, but and then 18 was just, it was good, it was fine, but it wasn't it wasn't like one of my one of the best ones, where this one had like 21 and 19 in particular are both really solid. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, comments.
Aye.
I mean, I'm glad that we're getting them, but I'm not sure how much I have to respond to specifically. There was one in Ronan's big comment. Let me try and remember what it was that I wanted to. Gravel. Because it's like, oh yeah, right. He was the actual candidate for king, not Darius. But I kind of forgot because Darius is the one with the real like antagonistic presence. Because he just pointed out that we were constantly talking about Darius when we were talking about the succession, and it's like, well, yeah, he is the mastermind behind it all and the man's god's apostle, but he's not in line for the throne, which I implied that he was, which it's just me like, yeah, him overshadowing Gravel in that way. So the
one comment I really wanted to respond to was Banania Pina.
Yes, I was wondering what you thought about that one.
I actually I think that's fair enough. I would disagree for the slight notion that I shouldn't say this is slight. I think it says a lot. To me, the change better signifies Ariel's sort of adolescent naivety about her position and her potential, where she didn't think much before of Derek, because Derek was someone that was really trying to propel her to a position that she couldn't even see at that point. It wasn't until his death that she sort of even began to understand who Derek was. Because as far as she was concerned, Derek was like a nagging, confidant of hers, like someone that is almost like a caregiver type character, but someone that she couldn't really see eye to eye with, basically, and probably didn't even care to truly get to know him because of what he was trying to do is something that Ariel had no interest in, I guess you could say. So by her reading his journal and really taking in all that he had expected of her, now that she is a person that is actually trying to actualize the same goal Derek had, is like, it really shows the growth. Basically, it's like she didn't have that perspective back then, because she had never even garnered the intrigue necessary to learn more about Derek, because she had no interest in what Derek had interest in, which is making her, the king of Asura. So I think it's really cool that through that she's like, oh, like Derek was someone that was like I was kind of blind to, he might have been my greatest supporter all along, right? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of blind to that in my, my adolescent naivety. So I think it's an additional display of growth, I think, from Ariel. But I can understand why you would prefer the alternative, where it's just that, like, from just pondering actions and events with Derek, she's able to come to her answer, because then she's able to take those moments that might have not meant much to her back then, and then recontextualize them through her new self, basically. And go, oh wait, that's what that meant. Oh my God, I can understand why you would prefer that. I feel, especially, and this is something else, is that we also get really cool shit because we're extending this.
Oh yeah, no, never mind the world building and the cool labyrinth dungeon, right?
To me,
that's a bit of an oxymoron. But,
what I'm trying to say is, I think both alternatives work. I think they both work, and I think they're equally valid. It's just because Ryufujian extended it in the light novel, we get like the Demon King, that's really cool. We get the cool Rudius moment with him. We get some cool more Eris stuff. We get a really cute moment with Sylphie, Luke, and Ariel. I like all that stuff, and I'm glad we got additions to. So yeah. But understandable. Like I said, I don't disagree with the comment necessarily, but yeah.
I appreciate the rest of the comments in general, because there was Lucas and Tudingle mentioning happy holidays in their own ways, and happy holidays to everyone else, and thank you for continuing to watch. As we now are on episode 7 of the Mushoku Tensei discussion.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm about ready to start a discussion.
Also, Wisteria, your comment about Paul, good.
Oh yes, comment. It was a good comment. I forgot about that.
I agree. Yeah, Paul would have, if he would have stayed, yeah, he would have definitely headed the Notos line. And everyone probably would have, like you said, everyone probably would have loved him too. He's just a natural born leader. That's who he is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I hadn't really thought that far ahead. Like I thought about, Paul being the leader in the sense of the Fangs of the Black Wolf, but it is true. He also led the Fatoa search and rescue. And then he was the leader of the monster hunt, whatever.
Yes. Just protecting the area, basically functionally the militia in a sense.
Yeah, he was a knight because he was technically a knight too. So that's why he literally had, control over that area in terms of guarding it, basically. Yeah. So, yeah.
Once you said knight, I just thought of, for some reason, like the one extra chapter with Therese husband hunting, because obviously she's a knight and there's a lot of
she needs a Paul of her own.
Oh True. Boy. Oh, and I did actually because I was curious, relevant also, I did rewatch just a brief scene from the Goblin Slayer OVA because I wanted to see it. I was like, yep, that's the Blessed Child and Therese. Because obviously it's then. I didn't read their significance back when I first watched that. I mean, I also just didn't even recognize that Cliff in the OVA was also Cliff in the fucking season 2 that aired a little while later. But whoops.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy.
Anyway, into the discussion proper. Yeah, Volume 19 is fucking good. What do you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of cool shit. It is cool in this reading too that we get. Admittedly, the Zanoba focus in Volume 19 is more so than Cliff's focus that he gets in Volume 20 and 21. Cliff gets a little bit more focus in 20, and then 21 he does really get a great moment, but it is still at its crux, at its core, about Rudius's other family.
Yes.
Right, via Zenith's line, rather.
God.
And it's
in comparison, this is much even just Zanoba framing his relationship with his home country, right, where it's and how he's kind of changed as a person. Because obviously when Rudy met him, he only gave a shit about dolls, but now he's just become more well-rounded of a person, and especially when we see his perspective later and how he directly says it's the reason he did it is because of the family, and that's the argument he makes that Rudy can't that logically deny. It's because my brother needs me. I'm going to go fucking help my brother. And it's fuck, I can't. What am I gonna? What are you gonna say?
And I don't think this is ever explicitly stated, but Rudius, for this change in Zanoba, Rudius really only has himself to blame, especially when it comes to the family aspect. Who always talks about their family? Literally crouching before the dragon god Orsa. He's I just want to protect my family. It's dude, Rudius, you are Zanoba's been watching you the most. And he's seen how much family is your ultimate. You do anything for your family. So obviously, given how much he admires this man, obviously his perspective is going to change on this, right? And it's because of Rudius, right? So Rudius, and he comes to this conclusion himself. He's I can't really argue with that because it's true. And he is a large part of that growth. And the same being for and this again, what I love about this reading is 19, you get a lot of great Zanoba shit. You see his growth that is aided by his kinship with Rudius, and then also with Cliff in 20 and 21. You see how much Cliff has grown through his story. So both of Rudius's friends in this section get a lot of really cool highlights. Like I said, a little bit more on the Zanoba side, but it makes sense given the crux of where the story's going in 20 and 21. At least Cliff gets just enough to really justify that, he's had similar growth to Zanoba. So it's all done. It's all executed.
And just even setting, thinking about the last reading and how just how important the Renault Academy stuff is for the story as a whole, because who's the characters who Rudy makes connections with during that whole reading? Ariel and Luke, Sylphie, it's very important. Linnea and Persena were more important in the last in Volume 18, right? So, and then now you got Zanoba and Cliff, and there's one suspicious missing. Where's Bodygotti? Where's Bodygotti?
Learn a little bit more about him in this volume. So
yes, but my more point, I just think about how those volumes established and introduced so much stuff that we were talking about how it's going to be important, and now we're really seeing that with here's Zanoba's volume, here's this stuff that's especially mostly for Cliff, mostly Volume 20 of just him making certain decisions and revealing certain things about his character. So it's good shit. But also relevant to the conflict of this volume, I definitely thought it was interesting hearing about or from Orsted's perspective on the situation, because obviously Rudy's like, hey, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, yeah, it's probably a trap from the man god to kill you. And we find out and especially like finding out about like the sort of like Pax Chirone's destiny, so to speak, to like turn it into a republic. And as a result, birth, as we find out later, are allowed for conditions to bring Lapis into existence in a place where Orsted knows that he will exist, so that he can prepare adequately to deal with them. Is what, because I don't know, and just in general, like, I was just thinking about how these two conflicts sort of contrast each other in a neat way, because I was thinking about how, like, because in this one, the man god is deliberately avoiding Rudy. Like Orsted mentions how he's probably not going to use apostles that have met you before, because that there's personal stakes there. And so because Rudy was very suspicious of Pax and Randolph, but as we turned out, is like the people who were the apostles this time, like Rudy doesn't even meet. Right, like they're but I was thinking about in the next one, the Latria family and Millis conflict, about how the man god wasn't actually like involved in the major events of that reading at all, and Rudy just kept assuming it. But like in a way, that conflict was sort of like Rudy's playing in a chess match between the dragon god Orsted and the man god, two incredibly powerful beings who are basically like well above like most other people in the world. And as a result, and Rudy also like looking down on himself, like he's such a big piece on the board that like the whole stuff in Millis is basically because he was there, right? Like, and he's looking at a bigger picture, and as a result, he's not like ultimately like who was the one masterminding that conflict? It was the Pope, right? Like he wasn't paying enough attention to the smaller pieces close to him, right? So I was just thinking about that, and is just how that sort of like, in a way, these conflicts are like, especially this one is Rudy dealing with the failures of his to overcome, specifically, like obviously he succeeds in the Millis conflict, but not in regards to the man god. In regards, in that way, he loses because a major piece slips away. But I don't know, I was just thinking about that and how it's interesting to get those two conflicts in this reading, and think about how they fit into the whole, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. On that note, not on that note, actually. Well, moving on, rather.
I understand.
So some interesting stuff already. Did you want to talk at all more about like that initial conversation between Rudius and Orsted?
I don't have anything specifically I have to bring up. Aside from his missive of don't let Pax die, basically. Because it's important.
That note is interesting because like Pax, like that growth is like crazy. It's like from the dude who's like just sexually assaulting Roxy, which I guess is not too far away from Rudius.
I think Pax. The Pax stuff is really good. Just with like him, because he like, especially the way Rudy connects to him, because he has all this character growth, right? He grows as a person a lot, and it's like just contrasting like who he is now to like the one who is like bragging to Rudy about wanting to like rape Roxy while fucking Rudy and then kill Rudy in front of, like, just doing the most like cartoonishly over the top evil shit. And now he's actually like more of a function, especially the extra chapter where he eats Randolph's food. It's like, no.
Yeah, fuck. I know. It's crazy.
Just like, hey, let's punch you in the gut after it's all over. Fuck you.
Like, Pax is legitimately like a great character. And you would have never expected that to be the case.
No, not at all.
That's the beauty of Mushoku Tensei, man. He's actually, he is good. He's a really, really good character. He's stuck with me for a long time. Yeah, I remember this stuff pretty well from my web novel reading. Not a lot has changed here, by the way, from my recollection.
I would imagine the only things that would really change are like the extra chapter at the end, and maybe like it's not even a major...
that was not that was not a part of the web novel.
Well, and the other one I was thinking of is the old extra chapter, because I did go back to reread it. Because or at least especially at least reread the ending part, because of just that, like, the reaction of just like, wait, what the fuck? Like, we're just like, Rudy's just trashing this guy's food, and then it turns out it's like, no, that's a really important guy that he's trashing. Well, because basically one thing I clocked is that they don't recognize each other at all, basically. Like, there's no hint that they had met previously in any of their interactions that I noticed, I guess, is what I was trying to say. Which, of course, is understandable because, non-diegetically, Ryufujin hadn't actually written that part when these were published. And then in the story, it's like, it's been fucking years. Rudy's gotten older, and that was an incident more, like, so, various times, like Therese mentions, like, how, he's harder to, he's not unrecognizable, but it's like, he's old. No, it wasn't it was the demon in, the Altofe, Volume 14, who he was like, don't I know you from somewhere? And Rudy's like, no, how could you possibly know me from somewhere? Because he's just, he's gotten much older, so he's,
the horse guy you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the horse guy, thank you. I was thinking of a different character in my head. I was like, no, that's not what that's a different series. But I couldn't remember what kind of demon he was, But, and then with Randolph, it's like, that for Rudy not recognizing him as that just wasn't as important to Rudy, right? Like, it didn't. Yeah. So maybe the food stuck out to him, but not Randolph himself, right? So that's why when he sees him again. So it's like, it's understandable that they didn't recognize each other, even in the story. So it didn't bother me. I just was thinking about that at the time, and that's why I wanted to go back and reread it to see if, like, because it was such a funny fucking extra chapter. The ending was so good. And I told you because last time we were talking, and we were like, I was like, oh yeah, or one of us was like, oh yeah, we haven't seen those two guys, and you I mostly remember because you said Death God, and it was, or no, you said I
said I fucked
Mad
up saying
God.
Mad God. I guess Eris was in my head as per usual. So.
Mad God, Mad Dog, and then because I started reading it, and obviously it's like the light novels have images in the front, and it's like, oh, Randolph, that's the eye patch guy, and I was like, wait a minute, and I just Control F my notes in Randolph, and that chapter popped up, and I'm like, oh, okay, because you did mention that chapter as far as like, yeah, those guys haven't shown up yet or in a while, so and but yeah, before they make it to Sharone, there was Lara is.
I'm glad you, because that's literally what I was about to say. Before we started talking about PAX.
So, well, one is like they were kind of hinting at it before, but they basically confirmed it with Zenith, and even though I don't think either Roxy or Rudy have realized it yet, is that Lara has the Migard tribe like ability to speak telepathically, because like the fact that she's communicating with Zenith, and but like Roxy, because Roxy can't do it, and obviously no one else, Zenith has it. So I was noticing, I noticed that because I feel like I forget when I exactly noticed it, but I feel like maybe it was her and Leo or something. But just like I was wondering if, or maybe just I was thinking of it as a possibility, and then they confirmed it. And then also she seems to have some sort of precognition in that like she could like see that Roxy was going to die, or that Rudy was going to die until Roxy was going to go with him, and obviously she got the Death Ward charm, and because that's probably what would happen if not for Roxy being there. Rudy, she took the blow for Rudy and died in his place. So and Lara saw that, and so she's
that's our Yusha, baby. That's our Yusha. Our Yusha of the story. Let's go, Lara W. She's taking W's at the age of a toddler. Who would have guessed? And then wait, at this point, no. Eris is still pregnant at this point, right? Because I think she doesn't give birth until the beginning of volume 20, right? Or was it at the end of this volume?
You mean
no? It's at the end of it's at the end of this volume because when Rudius comes back with Zanoba, and then it had already happened. Yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
Oh, Eris, right. Eris, yes. Wait, because has Sylphie given birth to her son yet? To her next kid yet?
No, that has not happened even in the reading that we.
Okay, because that's what I thought. But I just remembered something. Hold on, let me find it. Anyway, I'll find it for later rather. But anyway, but yeah, no, that was good. Then there was the stuff at the school with them. like the sort of like manipulation tactic they use to allow Roxy and Zanoba to leave, where it's like they basically extrapolate the situation as be like, oh no, they want Roxy back permanently, so they have it so that her having a temporary leave is like a concession instead of like what they actually wanted from the beginning.
That was a cool scene. Yeah.
Because I've fallen victim to that tactic. It's also used by scam artists. What happened was I called a locksmith to change the locks on my doors, and he was like, oh, well, and install these higher security ones for like $1,000. I'm like, no, because you can replace locks on your doors with a fucking screwdriver and like 20 minutes. And then he told me that doing that was going to cost about the same amount of money, and I was like, no. And then he said, okay, well, I need $100 service fee, and I paid him for that, and because same tactic. It's like your guard is lowered because you're accepting something smaller after refusing something big. Like I lost $100 for no reason.
Yeah, it is really hard to get around that tactic. Like if you're not expecting it, like cognitively, it is just like it's like. It's just the way our mind works. We got monkey brains in a lot of respects.
Yeah, so it was just.
I wouldn't feel too down on yourself over that. Like it's like you have to.
I called my dad and he was like, "What the fuck?" And he came down and helped me and chatted with me but also helped me replace my my locks. And it was it was a learning experience. Let's say that because. Basically, if anyone comes to your door, well, no, this was someone I called, and they were like from a company, but it was still a shitty company. But also, if anyone comes to your door with something that sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And I'm too nice to say no some of the times, or at least or I don't know, just too trusting sometimes. I don't know, whatever. Unrelated.
But it is in the reading, Perugius. He is.
Yep. Roxy, no. I mean, she gets to go break his rule, but he's also like, but no, don't talk, and you're not allowed to, or you're not allowed to say a fucking thing.
I mean, but that's huge, right? Like for
magic. I understand it, but she wasn't allowed to see Perugius at all. I was remembering. It's like no, she wasn't blindfolded though, but it's like no, that's what she wasn't allowed to see. But,
dude, I mean, like, it's crazy to think, like, prospectively, like, Zanoba and, by extension, Rudius are, like, they got friends in high places. I guess in Perugius' case, literally high places. But, like, the fact that Perugius was willing to wiggle even a little bit off his, demon dogma is, like, a crazy testament to how much he appreciates the company of... not just Zanoba, but Rudius, too. Yeah. So
they also did mention how there's also a level at which it's like he respects those going to their deaths, So he kind of expected that of the whole situation as well. So it's a bit of both, but it is true that like he does value Zanoba as a person and is willing to make that concession for him and Rudy. Because it would help them. And
suffice it to say, if he didn't like them as much, that that respect for for people going to their deaths would not be enough to sway him, right? Mm-hmm. That alone, I should say. I think that's just really, really cool. Perugius is consistently a really, really cool character. Obviously, like I don't have to say that. Like we got that whole arc.
Of course.
So, that was really cool. That we got Roxy on the fucking floating fortress, and I love just how I love the cute little description about how since Roxy couldn't say anything, she kept pulling on Rudius' sleeve, whoa, this shit is epic, holy shit.
Speaking of, one thing, I'm pretty sure this was from Orsted explaining what he knew about Death God Randolph, and he just casually mentions he studied to become a cook, and that's when I'm pretty sure I laughed at that just because it's obviously he's brushing off, Orsted's brushing it off, but it was really important. It is very important to Randolph, right? And we already have a perspective on that from earlier. Yeah. And then as other cute shit is Lucy asking Rudy for a hug before he leaves. Is
true.
Very, and even as we find out later is because she's getting old enough to she's being trained in magic and swordplay. so she's coming to like Rudy more because when it comes to like mom and mom, it's study, but when it comes to dad, it's affection and love. It's just she's warmed up to him, and it's cute.
It just reminds me too of the cute little scene where it's like Sylphie's mad at Lucy because she used her comb to brush Leo, and then her reasoning was, but mommy and Leo have white hair, so it should work. It's like, oh, it's so cute. That's so cute.
And Rudy laughing at it and getting in trouble himself because he smiled and he's don't encourage her.
But then Lucy goes, "I'll use Daddy's comb next time," and then Rudy's just like, honestly, worth it. I was getting a new comb. No, it's cute. It's cute. Lucy's great.
God. And then also fucking Zanoba hugging Nanahoshi. And just them having their goodbye because like they are friends, and Zanoba he was able to become friends with this person who doesn't love this world, and just that was really sweet. I thought
super touching. Like, dude, oh man, Mushoku Tensei, like some of my other favorite stories, really knows how to tug at my heartstrings, man. I wasn't getting choked up during that scene, but I was feeling it. I was like, damn Nanahoshi, damn the fact that Nanahoshi was like kind of crying. I was like, God damn, Nanahoshi, you do have friends here. See, there's some light here that you've experienced, some vibrance. It's not all bad. You got Zanoba. I say that as Zanoba, as she thinks Zanoba's marching to his death, but it all works out. Anyway, Orsted visits Rudius for an emergency meeting, and everyone's all like, "What the fuck? What this aura? And then says, "Oh, it's just Orsted." Rudy's like, just Orsted. Well, we're gonna talk. In the talk, we get a couple of doses of information, but something that's a little bit juicy is Randolph Marianne is the grandson of the second North God, and after beating the original Death God, he gained the title of Death God. But not this is after he had left the school of the North God to potentially be the successor to Colin II, and he was like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. And he just becomes the Death God. And not only that, but if you remember, Crafts, the North God, the current North God, is 7th in the rankings. And so by just saying, nah, fuck that shit, I'm doing my own thing, he has effectively transcended, his grandfather, right? Going his own way, developing his own form. The Death God style. Well, no, he's got his own style. I forgot what it's called though. The sword of what the fuck is it? It's a cool name. It's two different forms. But anyway,
I don't remember. It's been a couple weeks since I've read the.
It's cool. It's like the sword of deprivation that fucking.
I think that was.
It's a similarly cool name.
Sure. No, I thought that was it, or am I thinking of something? No, sword of deprivation was right. Never mind.
It's like the sword of enchantment or the sword of enticement, and then also the sword of I don't know, whatever. I remember what it does, but I don't remember. The name. It's a cool name though. Names rather, but we get some like really just. You'd think it is kind of funny too sometimes with like but then again I'm comparing like One Piece because a lot of One Piece reveals are like big bombastic, but I feel like Mushoku Tensei oftentimes is kind of the opposite, where we get something that seems kind of like big information, but I wouldn't say it's glossed over, but because Orsted is the one telling us this information, it's whatever to him. Like he's the dragon god Orsted. He's like, oh yeah, and he's like the grandson of like the North God too, and like and then he became the Death God, and this is just kind of how history is. I mean, it's history that he's seen over and over and over and over again. Obviously, it wouldn't matter much to him, right? But to me, the reader, when I read that, I'm like, oh, North God is a huge name. Yeah. Oh shit, he's not only the Death God, but he's also the grandson of the fucking North God. That's fucking crazy to me.
And he also mentions being like having a mortal demon in his blood, which is interesting.
Given that we get more lore on like his other relation. That comes from, I would imagine. Well, yeah, because the first North God is the one who got acquainted with Atofe, and they became a thing. So that's I think that's where that blood comes from, all the way back then. I guess it would be common one would be probably his great grandfather, probably. I think. Anyway, so he does have immortal demon blood tracing back to Atofe. So Atofe is probably his great grandma. That's kind of funny. Atofe is really she's rearing her ugly head every now and then still. So. Yeah. And then, of course, that also means he's related to one other. We'll talk about him later.
Fuck.
We'll talk about him later.
Anyway.
But,
yeah, they make it to Shirone.
Yeah, and then fucking Zanoba, weird ass, is like, oh, yeah, swore. How lovely. It's like, Rudius is like, really? What?
Yeah, no, I do like that exploration with Rudy of just him sort of like unpacking his views on death versus this world where like obviously like most of the world is more okay with death than he is because he's come from a very different society, contemporary Japan. And just him sort of unpacking, like especially when he thought about Ruijerd later, I'm just like, well, because he told Ruijerd not to kill because like, oh well, if you don't kill them, they can be better later. And but then him having to break that to save Zanoba, right? And that sort of hypocrisy of like, well, I'm going back on that to protect someone I care about when like, well, Ruijerd was also killing people to protect me, right? And just good stuff.
Yeah. Indeed. And then they go and they confront the man himself, Pax,
Mr. Pax,
with
yeah,
the Death God at his side. That that just seems to be very disinterested in the entire ordeal, like he, as he should be, because his role's in the kitchen as far as he's concerned. He doesn't care about any shit. Fighting, lame, boring. No, and then we Pax like temperamentally seems. I shouldn't say temperamentally, but on the surface, he almost seems like the same Pax, at least in this conversation. He's like
definitely similar,
haughty, looking down
for sure.
on.
Yeah.
But there's slight little things that showcase his growth, like for instance, his physique. Rudius notices, he's like, oh, okay, he looks actually kind of fit, which is the opposite last time I saw him.
He's more earned his position in a sense rather than just like, because before he was like just an entitled spoiled brat lately basically, but now he's actually like he's literally like Rudy even makes the connection of just like he's like it's like later on especially of just like he would like Pax before versus Pax now is kind of like Rudy versus his past self, right, where just like a spoiled entitled brat living off of his parents' laurels and doing whatever the fuck he wanted. But now he's actually grown into someone who's like, he fell in love with Benedicte. He's gotten more physically powerful. He's he's made something of himself, right? Like, and he and Rudy even says that he feels like Pax had to go through more to do that because he did it in one life, right, not two. So and a much shorter one too, because I'm pretty sure he's like, he's Zanova's younger brother, so he's even younger than like way younger than Rudy. Or maybe, Zanova's third prince and Pax is seventh, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's right. I know Pax is quite a bit younger than Zanoba, because Zanoba's I think still in his late 20s, maybe. No, he might even be in his early 30s at this point.
Maybe by now, yeah. It's been quite a while.
I don't remember how old, because his age was said one time by Rudius, but that was volumes ago. So
Well, you don't remember every single tiny detail? Fake fan.
Oh, no. True. I just go to the wiki. It's fine.
I know. I understand. No, but yeah, just Pax has grown. That's what I was trying to get. I said it already.
Yeah, and then it's a constant. It is a thought that Rudius has, is that like Pax. I want to see your take on this. Like, do you think Pax, in sending Zanoba to the fort, do you think Pax legitimately expected Zanoba to die? Because there is a little bit of nuance in the fact that the fort is at a very strategically advantageous position, which can lead you to believe that maybe Pax legitimately thought, if we send someone like Zanoba there to lead them, a blessed child, then they might be able to come out on top. There might even be a decent chance, right? Do you think that Pax, or if he even cared to think about that?
Yeah, see, I mean, I do think that, because, like, if they lose that base, then they're probably going to lose the war. So I do think that he would have wanted them to win. What that doesn't necessarily mean he expects or cares for Zanoba to live. Because I do think, especially like there's the conversation that Zanoba has with Rudy when they leave, and because Rudy's like, holy shit, we're outnumbered, and Zanoba's like, Zanoba understands war better because he studied war, right? And so he's breaking it down for Rudy. And it's like, well, we have a well-defended position, and never mind the fact that, like, you know, like I'm just trying to imagine, like, if they didn't have Rudy and Roxy, it's like they'd still be it's not a helpless spot, right? I don't think, like, because they do have mages of their own. They are in a well, like, defended position in a siege, right? Because obviously Pax couldn't have predicted that, like, Rudy and Roxy would come, but I don't know. So I don't know specifically that he like wanted Zanoba to die, but I definitely, like, you know, I don't think he would have minded if he died, maybe, but
yeah, because that's kind of my take, given that this is the same guy who literally just murdered his entire family. I think to Pax, it's like, I don't hold a grudge against you at this point. I am where I'm at. It is whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he would have cared if Zanoba dies. If Zanoba survives, he also wouldn't care.
Exactly. Because like he knows Zanoba, and he knows, like, Zanoba wouldn't have come if not for the summons, right? So I do think he knows that Zanoba is no real threat to the throne. So
that's kind of the tragedy of it, is that, you know, this same man Pax is like someone that obviously the way he was before, he would have definitely held grudges, but because he's grown so much, that means so little to him. You know, he's got a wife, he's got a throne, and he has, you know, his own experiences that have just made him stronger in general. So with that notion in mind, it's like these two could have legitimately be brothers now. Zanoba has matured a lot in his own way. Same with Pax. They could probably see eye to eye now, and form an actual brotherly bond. But obviously, by the end of it as soon as that potential shows itself, you know, Pax is, you know, effectively dead. He is dead at the end of this volume, so it is pretty tragic in that sense. And that even despite at the beginning of this, it's like Pax is still, you know, looks upon Zanoba like, I can take you or leave you. I think us as the readers know that they could have legitimately especially given Zanoba's attempt to right his past wrongs in terms of, like, his familial bonds. It could have been, you know, like a beautiful relationship between brothers, but that's just never going to see the light of day now. That's what kind of carried with me more than before the Roxy thing, of course. That's what carried home with me, is the Pax's death. It's like, oh man, like Zenoba's never going to be able to have that experience Rudius has, like with because his dynamic with Norn and Aisha is like, it's so beautiful, right? He's got really unique dynamics with both of them that of course add so much to the story, but for Rudius as a person, it gave him so much growth. It gave him so much understanding, especially Norn's situation, how it paralleled his. It's like Zanoba will never experience that, and that's kind of sad. And he really was trying to through watching Rudius. So yeah, it's pretty tragic. It's sad. I like this volume a lot. That Pax can evoke that emotion in me, I think, speaks to the quality of this volume.
God, it's really good. But I was gonna say, so another funny thing that came from the, like, when they were at the base, it was I thought it was funny because there was some of the soldiers talking about the rumor of a blue-haired adventurer husband hunting in labyrinths, and the fact that, like, Roxy made a sort of name for herself in a way was for something so dumb was very funny. That just made me laugh.
She's like, she has conquered this many labyrinths. Very impressive feat. Somehow it is leaked, though, that her whole prerogative is just to find a husband. All right, okay, respect.
And speaking of good Roxy stuff, a little later when she's seeing Rudy being bummed about the have him as he's unpacking, like, war basically, and having to be this soldier in a sense, and because she's like, okay, fine, we can have sex, and he's like, no, it's not really what I want, and she's like, oh, like, she's disappointed because there's no sex. There's not gonna they rectify that, but
but then he's like, but I still kind of want it.
I'm not gonna say if you're offering, of course, but just of course that initial reaction of just like her making an assumption and being wrong, and then it's like, oh no, she was the one who wanted sex, so she was just expecting it from, I don't know, just they're good, they're cute, they're good.
And then the little note about, like, the more she's trying to move her hair out of her face, like, she just keeps getting paint on her face, like she does it like twice, and then she's like, Rudy, is there paint on my face? Like, yeah, there is. It's kind of funny.
And then less cute of her mentioning as far as like killing people is like, yeah, she's tried to kill. She has killed people, including people who have tried to have their way with her.
Badass.
You know, and it's like, oh shit. You know, and of course, like especially Rudy, the way he sort of comes to his conclusions, I should say, because like in this moment, it's more like he doesn't want to become his future self, where he sees like because he is so powerful, right? But his bad future self stopped seeing lives as valuable and killed a lot of people, killed a lot of important people, killed a lot of strong people, you know, and innocent people, like all sorts. And obviously, of course, he doesn't want to come to that. And of course, what he concludes from this one is, yeah, I don't want to be in war again. This sucks, and this really sucks, actually. Like, especially when like Zanoba went out with a bunch of troops, and then Rudy realizes that he killed a number of them. Like, he caused casualties not only on the enemy's side, like lots of casualties on the enemy's side, but on his side, you know? And that just really fucked him up. So, I don't know, just seeing that was it. And also just how fucking strong they are, like Rudy especially, where they're like, they probably think that we're out of mana. And it's like, nope, Rudy can go all day.
Not me. Nope.
Like,
well, yeah. I was gonna say to the killing thing. I love Roxy's. I love her sort of just how she is just the best at giving advice, because it is really, really cool the tactic she uses. It's just like she asks the simple question. It's like, okay, you have trouble coping with the fact that you have to kill people, but you're also having trouble too because you know that right now, in the sense of you being Zenoba's friend and being a part of this now, it's your duty to kill right now. Like, you have to. Mm-hmm. You don't want to just leave it to me because something sits right with you, but like fundamentally, like, do you want this to not bother you? Like, do you want to be unbothered by this? Is that what you're aiming at? And Rudius is like, well, no, I actually, no, yeah, I want to be bothered by this. I don't want to the concept of taking human lives to be any less weighty than it is, because I'll feel like I'll lose myself, obviously, because he's got that perspective of his, you know, alternate future self in his head. And she's like, well, okay, and I agree with that. I think that's what matters at the end of the day. And I think it's really, really cool. It's just a simple question. Just like, do you want this to be any less weighty on your mind? It's like, well, no, actually, I don't think I do. And it's like, okay, well, then I think you're better off that way. I love that conversation. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And it just highlights more of like Roxy's role in the family, basically, in terms of like her being one of the wives to Rudius. Because they all have effective roles in the household, of course. But and it is also kind of like, it is kind of interesting to note, because obviously we know Sylphie is a killer. We know Eris is a killer. But we hadn't gotten the confirmation yet on Roxy. So it is kind of funny to note that like all the wives are like these like not indiscriminate murdering, but they're murdering badasses. Whereas like Rudius is just not.
Like I'm pretty sure the only people he's actually killed have been in this war. Like he's got, I mean, did he? Hold on, no, did he?
There were people that like slammed into his wall during the.
That's right. That did happen.
Adventure to the beggary.
And did he give the final blows on Auber or no? Not Darius, because that was
no. Yeah, neither of which he did the final.
Okay, that's what I thought, because he did blame. Yeah. I was confused because I remember him like blaming himself for those deaths, but obviously it's like he didn't drop the hammer, you know.
As far as Darius was concerned, he said, "I may as well have killed him."
Exactly.
I disabled him to the point where all Eris had to do is walk up and slash his neck, right? Or Ghislaine, for that matter. And then for Auber too, right, because like he was a part of that battle, and even though he didn't get the final blow on it, it is Rudius, which I think that is I think that's accurate to note. Like if you're part of the action, especially like up close and personal, you may as well. Like I think it's splitting hairs at that point if we're talking about who gave the final blow. I think I would think the same as Rudius in that scenario, personally.
Yeah.
But anyway. Where are we now?
I mean, I think because I've said about everything I have to say about the war. Like, it was good, and again, just seeing like again the scale of just how much stronger Rudy is than basically everyone. Especially because because obviously like Randolph is very strong as well, but he doesn't have like the area of effect that Rudy has, right? Like Rudy is just such this impeccable battlefield presence, you know, and it's just really neat to see. So I'm about done with that. So because I'm moving on, next is the they find out about the coup and the 11th Prince. And they go back for that using the magic armor version 1. So yeah, unless there's anything you want to say from before then.
No. I think it's all self-explanatory. I don't really have anything. Yeah, they go. Where do they try? Because they get the note. They get the warning from Ginger, right? And then they go to. They're trying to get to Pax, but then it's all being blockaded basically.
Yes.
By the army. What is the Jade? Is that his name?
Jade, yes, the man god's other apostle after the king of the dragon realm, or no, the other country, the invading country, I think. No, it was the king of the dragon realm who was he was actually supporting Pax and putting him in a position where because the man god trying to make it so that indirectly kill him basically.
Yeah, okay. And then so they're like, oh, we can't go that way, but Zanoba knows a secret passage.
Yes.
And so they take that ish, and they're going in. They're going in, and Rudius is sweating a little bit. He's sweating a little because he's like, crap, the Death God might still be an apostle.
Yep.
And I don't want to fight him. And then they arrive.
And
they arrive.
Yeah.
And the boy, the man himself, really doesn't want to fight. He really doesn't want to.
But it's like, because he's not good with people, and he's not good at being understood. So it's like, obviously, there's fault to pin out for Rudy because of his bias, because that's the big fault here, is his biases getting in the way, and like, again, sort of seeing this bigger picture, but I guess in a way kind of falling into the same fault of the man god, where the man god isn't able to like predict people or understand people because he relies on just being able to see the future. Where so Rudy in a sense is like, he's looking at too big of a scale to see just like, Randolph he just likes Pax, he just wants to protect him, and also he's just not good with people, and as a result this conflict happens because like they're not able to like talk him into just letting Zanoba see his brother, right? And when Pax is he's just vetting his lady one last time. So
now that we're talking about it, I wonder if that is like a common scenario with Randolph, where he's like, there's strong opponents that he gets riled up because he just can't effectively communicate his true intentions, and then like it turns into a big scuffle, and then obviously it's like a battle to the death, so Randolph just ends up killing them, and it's like, he's the death god, whereas like Randolph is like, man, it happened again.
When you're one of the strongest people in the world, but also you're cripplingly autistic.
Yeah, exactly. Like, now that you're mentioning it, like, I wonder, like, if this is like a common scenario.
I love the way you frame it. Oh no, it happened again.
Shit, I had to kill someone again.
Just keep on killing. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh god. I want to say one thing I think is neat, because the way he also has a Manatite Hydra scale is, I like how we get introduced to these things because of like Rudy's ingenuity with the magic armor and the Manatite Hydra scale, but then it turns out like, no, they already exist in the world, and in particular the magic armor, it's like, it's just an imitation of the fighting god's armor, right? Like, it's not nearly as good, but where Randolph functionally just has the same thing as Rudy with the Manatite Hydra scale gauntlet. So I just like that element of like us seeing things through Rudy first, like with silent casting, because of his talent or because of his ingenuity, but then obviously like, oh no, these do exist in the world before. Or like the way they're talking about the electric spell and the Millis conflict makes it seem like, no, I guess they could have just been aware about it, but it felt like his invention, again, because he understands like, the properties of lightning and physics better, but maybe it did exist in the world before, because the way they were just talking about the electric spell. But again, like I said, word gets around about Rudy.
They had intel on the electric is why, but it seems to be an original from Rudius. But as far as Randolph is concerned,
Yep.
the dude's strong, right? Because
Very.
like you putting it into perspective. I mean, not only is he like fighting, but this entire time he's holding off an army too.
Exactly. He's holding off an army with just like a secondary ability, and then he proceeds to defeat Rudy, Roxy, and Zanoba. Like, 3-on-1. Like, he's very strong.
Although we do get the little note that if the fight would have continued, they actually had a good chance of beating Randolph.
They did.
Because Randolph was saying, especially after Rudius's his Gatling, absorbing all of that impact took a lot of mana out of him. And Randolph is no Rudius, right? In terms of his mana pool. So he
I think he also
exhaust.
stopped him from using his killer move. That I think you mentioned that he didn't actually get his best move off, basically. Or he couldn't. And mana capacity would have been So yeah, definitely, but not one-sided, but definitely. But I don't know. I was even just thinking about because I'll hold off on that because we get after we have Roxy nearly dying because of Rudy and his sort of fear of the man god in a way, almost because I was just I guess I thought about how they were this close to because if Roxy died, Rudy he has his future diary, his future self's diary to and his experiences, right? So maybe he wouldn't have fallen down the same rabbit hole or downward spiral, but Roxy dying was what caused everything before, right? So I had that thought of just Rudy's biases and just the fear of the man god, the possibility of the man god nearly could have brought him to ruin in a sense, right? Because if Roxy didn't have the death ward, basically, I was just thinking about that. I think that was all I had to say on that. I was just thinking about it because I was going to move on to PAX.
That is really cool. Sorry, I was peeing because I thought you were going to talk for a little bit longer than that. Okay. But I heard everything. No, that is
P
that
fiction.
Is a cool
You say?
P fiction. So great, so tantalizing, so peak in fact that it induces pee. You have to pee whenever you're.
It is a relieving feeling when you let it all loose. It's when experiencing good art is I experienced good art. I'm relieved.
Exactly. Mind and body just sort of relaxes. Especially when you notice that Roxy's alive. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I mean, Roxy's alive. Yes, yay! She's not dead. This alternate future is not going to happen. It is cool that is also piggybacking off what you said. Kind of the kicker, or rather the kickoff for the moment of sobriety Rudius has, because as he got tricked earlier by a simple, even though he was warned by Orsted that even in his own style, the Death God is a trickster by nature. I mean, literally, the crux of his knowledge of swordplay comes from the North God style, which, as we know, is very trickstery.
And I really like the description of his fighting style, where it's he leads you to attack when you don't want to, when you shouldn't attack, and he leads you to defend when you should be attacking, right? That he sort of. The way he manipulates is just I don't know, it's really neat. And even just having that, and then Rudy knowing that in itself, kind of creating a double think where it's oh wait, he doesn't I'm being defensive, so maybe I should attack, but what if he wants me to and just not being sure. It's I don't know, he's Randolph's cool. He's got a cool fighting style.
But I mean, and effectively, while Randolph doesn't know this, he's using Rudius's own paranoia against him. He says, "Oh, it's the Death God." Rudius is not thinking in the moment, "Oh, Orsted." This is similar to what Orsted says, he's a trickster guy. But this is one of those moments where it's "Oh, I shouldn't go after him right now because there's someone behind me." No, if he was thinking that, he'd be "Oh, this is one of those moments. I have to attack him right now. I can't look behind me. This is a trick, right?" But because Rudius is always thinking of "Oh, where's the other apostle? Where's the man god? Where's the man god?" Rudius is automatically always assuming something is behind him, right? So that takes precedence even in this moment, even knowing what he knows about Randolph, right? And then I love Randolph's line. He's like, the Death God always. What does he say? He's like, the Death God is always at your back, basically saying death is always behind you, basically the death in the sense that you could die at any moment, the concept of death rather, I mean, he is the death god, but even he can't beat death, for instance. So it's a really, really badass line where it's like, or he ties that into the trick he gave on Rudius. But no, it's, but in the fact that, I think that's the reason why it was effective on Rudius, even with the knowledge he and then again, with the Roxy thing, the moment of sobriety, he's like, wait a second. Why are we fighting right now? I was like, hey, do you know who the man god is? No. Oh. Like, okay. It's like, or it's like, are you no, because he knows who the man god is.
He does. I was about to say, yeah.
He knows who the man god is. He's like, but are you working for the man god? Did he come in your dreams? He's like, nah, not that I'm aware of. Like, oh. He's like,
okay.
He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like what that is the cool. Like, I know it sounds lame, but it in the moment when you realize it was all for naught, it's like, oh, this is really fucking cool. It's just like Rudius is just, he's so mind fucked that it caused him to have a life or death that almost killed Roxy for nothing. Like, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And how chill Randolph is about it. He's like, oh yeah, I could have communicated better too. And it's like, oh, they're done. It's like the
Oh yeah, because I was just thinking, like, in fairness to Randolph, is like, because Pax gave him like orders of like, this is what to do if I die, right? Like, and so like somewhere in Randolph's mind, he's realizing like, yeah, Pax is going, like, he's probably going to kill himself, right? Like he's about to lose like this person that he does respect and he does value, So it's like Randolph isn't exactly in the best place either for. So yeah, I don't know, just because getting to Pax. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, on that note, it is interesting because Randolph doesn't do a lot. He does at least give pushback in the sense where he's like, Pax, I really like you. Like, I really appreciate your friendship. But obviously that's not enough to deter Pax, especially given how new in his life is, whereas everyone else that he's ever known for years and years and years has only turned their back on him or tried to stick a knife in his back, right? But the fact that Randolph sort of accepts it despite, appreciating Pax so much, I kind of took it as like, he truly is a death god because he won't even hinder Pax from ending his own life.
Yeah.
Like, to him, it's almost like this is the natural outcome for what Pax is saying. I am not going to impede his death if he chooses so. It seems to be the resolution of a true death god to come to that conclusion. Very morbid, very, questionable, but it fits Randolph, I think, at least as far as his moniker is concerned. So I thought that was cool and interesting. Yeah,
because they mentioned he's also called the god of death because he respects the wishes of the ones he kills, basically.
Exactly.
But here's him not respecting the wishes of the one he kills, but respecting the wishes of someone who's about to die, right? Like, and enacting that will when he's gone, and protecting Benedicte and letting her go back home, basically. Because getting to Pax is just where you find he's basically like, because the contrast with Rudy is basically because Rudy did get praised, he was respected by those around him, where Pax did accomplish some impressive things, but that he was never openly respect. Like, Roxy sighed at him, and that really fucked him up, right? Because obviously it's like, well, Roxy's thinking about Rudy being so exceptional as a student in a way that kind of ruined Roxy for students, and that really fucked with Pax. And then, of course, and then we also get a vision into, like, I guess the alternate reality Pax of just, I was thinking about, like, because, like, he's not a leader that people rally behind, because he was talking about how, like, no one actually wants him to lead, right? Like, he's now been put in this position where it's like, it is, safer just to kill all the other princes, and, he's being backed by another foreign power. Like, he didn't achieve this crown because of his own efforts. And I was just thinking about him in contrast to other characters, I guess, because initially I was actually thinking about Prince Stelly or King Stelly from One Piece, in that like, just the idea of like, because for me, Stelly is like, I remember when I did my Justice video, I even said like, yeah, there's probably doesn't exist a better Stelly analysis than this one, because at the time I didn't think, but because I just like, what I got out of his character was just like, he has this like he wants to be a king, right? Like the highest king that he can possibly be. He's ambitious in the regards of like the world government system of rule, in the same way Luffy is ambitious as being king of the pirates. The difference is that, like, for Steli to become a heavenly dragon or to sit on the nameless throne or the empty throne is like, well, they live by blood rule, and Steli wasn't born a heavenly dragon, therefore, like, for them to allow him a position like that would kind of like undermine what their rule is, basically. And so I was just thinking of Pax in the context of like someone who's just constantly trying to go up. But then now that it's like, you know, then actually getting the actual context of his character. Character I'm pretty sure you're not familiar with him. There's a character called Kandori from Persona 1, and his whole thing is basically like he's sort of like because especially in like the 80s, and there's just like, and it's still there today, but just the high school like to salaryman pipeline of just like, you do well at school, you do cram school, you go to the best college, you get a really good job, and then you have your life sort of set out for you. When you go into become a salaryman, they rise up through the ranks. And Condor is kind of this character who basically like he was the perfect like, you know, the perfect student, the perfect salaryman, and then he reached the top and he just found it empty, and so he's decided to strive higher by basically like becoming God and mind controlling the world and doing a bunch of other fucked up shit. But I was just thinking about how like Pax kind of like he reached the top in the other reality, and but because he was like because no one wanted him to lead, and he sort of like he thought of like, you know, was considering just like king royalty in general, and you know, he made a democracy. He sort of made a positive change, a new system of rule after like, you know, he reached the top and found it lacking. So I was just thinking about how, I don't know, Pax is interesting. So yeah.
No, especially because Rudius, in his ascension, he was always accepted, right? Mm-hmm. And he was always reinforced. And that, like you said, goes a long way. Rudius points that out himself about mm-hmm. how Pax is sort of the opposite end of how his new life has gone for him. Mm-hmm. But, you know, the fact that Rudius is kind of on top of the world right now, not because of like him being, you know, the Quagmire Rudius Emperor tier mage.
No, he doesn't want he doesn't want that. He just ended up at the position, right, where Pax did strive for that. But like, no one appreciated Pax for that. No one complimented him. No one recognized him. And it's like, and in facing him are like 3 people who could have, right? Like Zanoba, even like when we see his regret of like, well, you know, oh, I remember being at this one like dinner and seeing my brother there, and it's like, why didn't I say something to him then, you know? And like, why did Roxy sigh? Because it's like she did, like she was grieving about it later, just like she did sigh at him, like he wasn't lying or misreading her. It's like, no, she did compare him negatively to Rudy, right? And Rudy even like recognize, like once he saw him again for the first time in years, he immediately recognizes like the accomplishment he's made, right? Like this is like, even though but he's worried he's a fucking man god apostle, right? Like he's not gonna give him random praise when it's like this guy could literally be like aiming to be, you know, kill me and Roxy, right? Like I'm, you know, and Zanoba, you know, so it's like so it's just like and so he just fucking kills himself, and it's like, no, fuck, god. I remember even like what I was gonna say earlier, I was just thinking about how it's like I think this is Rudy's like biggest loss in the story, maybe. I feel like Zanoba doesn't, like, he doesn't lose anything in a sense, like, because Zanoba and Roxy don't die, but it's like, it's still like it's a failure. It ruins Orsted's like time loop. It like Pax dies, you know, he just wasted a lot of time and effort, and I just can't, like losing against Orsted, and losing to Orsted the first time, like, you know, he got traumatized. Okay, no, I guess losing Eris was definitely worse for him, but I feel like as far as like, yeah, this is, at least since then, this is definitely like his biggest loss, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, of just like,
for sure.
Yeah, like, yeah, the man god won, and honestly barely even tried.
So, and then of course that Paul too is like the still.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. At least for his. No, you're right. Why didn't I not think about that? Yeah, but
no, but this is definitely out there, especially given how much more work is required to make this loop a success. Especially since Rudius has said time and time again this reading, you know, Orsted, you know, he has countless loops, but I only have this one life, and I want to make it successful. I don't want my kids to die, you know. I don't want Lara being as the hero, you know, ending in failure. You know, I don't want her man god to kill her. So, So I think, and what I was going to say earlier, shoot, if I could remember, what was I going to say? I had a note about Pax because you were just talking about him. You can continue with what you were going to say, and hopefully I remember.
Yeah, it was I guess like if we say Rudy, Eris leaving is like Rudy's childhood low point. Paul dying is Rudy's like adolescent low point, and then this is so far his adulthood low point. I guess is what I could say as far as not like in a like act structure sense, just more an emotional like loss sense. So far. There's still 5 volumes left for Ryufujin to just stab me. So,
Indeed, yeah.
But yeah, no, just I don't know. Like I was just like I said, I was just thinking about like Pax as a ruler not getting recognition, and just unpacking him a bit before he killed himself, and just oh man, the fucking Zanoba Trump wanting to like, can you bring him back? And it's like no, he can't, and and I even really realizing that it's like, oh, maybe if I expected it, I could have saved him, right? Like, because he had the magic power to do so. He just didn't, obviously, he never thought that it was going to happen, right? So he couldn't even prepare himself.
I was just going to say, because you mentioned earlier about Zanoba's reflection on, in his past when he still lived in Sharon, thinking about, like, the time where Pax was trying to communicate with him, but he paid him no mind. It's really reminiscent of Rudy after Paul's death, which is another major loss in the family. He's thinking like, why didn't I go to my family's funeral? That's such a small gesture. It is the most, minimalistic gesture, yet I couldn't even do that. Like, this really takes me back to that. When I was reading, I was like, man, this is just like Rudius after Paul's death, man. That's crazy.
Fuck.
Yeah, but that's good shit. Mushoku Tensei some good shit. But yeah, no, like with all the tone and everything, really does feel like this is truly a loss. Like the man God really pulled one over on it. Everyone's feeling it. Zanoba's feeling it. And fucking even Roxy's feeling it because she's now looking back on what she's done, and it's a really great moment. And you would never expect this, like Roxy, because obviously Rudius is the main character. He's always going to get good moments, and Zanoba. This is Zanoba's arc, but for all of this, Roxy is a great support character, and she says a lot of stuff. But at the end of this, getting like some development for her is like, oh wow, this is just the icing or the sprinkles on already great icing. Rather, is that man? Roxy may even be taking this the hardest. Perhaps even harder than Zanoba. Yeah, because she feels at fault basically for how all this turned out.
The way I forget if she was framing it this way or this was just how I put it. This was how I put it in my notes. I forget how much of this was directly said in the story, but like the way that like Roxy's second pupil had way more to teach her than her first one, but she wasn't listening to him, right? Like because Rudy was such an exceptional pupil that like she was humbled. She learned a lot from him in that way. But with Pax, like that could have taught her so much, but she was still haughty. She was still proud, I suppose, and like in a way, like I guess now I'm thinking about that Roxy Rudy contrast where like Rudy speaks so highly of Roxy, and then with Pax we really see how like highly Roxy thinks of Rudy, and that very fact sort of like negatively affecting Pax like heavily, right? And just like because like Roxy's pride kind of shifted when Rudy humbled her by matching her at 6 years old, right? So it's like that pride in Rudy sort of led to her looking down on Pax when Pax like he learned magic, he did something that was deserving of praise, but like Roxy didn't see it. Roxy didn't see it as worthy of praise because like she was so proud of her pupil. So,
it is
rough.
It is rough. But you know what? With every closed door, another one opens. Because guess what? They come back. And while Zanoba may have lost a member of his family, the last remaining one at that, Rudius gains a member of his family. Enter the first son, Aris.
What is there to note about him? He likes boobs.
He likes boobies, just like his fathers before him. Yep. Paul would be proud.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's just it's great. It's funny. And how just like I love Eris so much. How she just like allows for this occasion, Eris just allows herself to be picked up like a princess, and she's like, he's inside, and it's just like, oh man, this is cute.
Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah.
God. Well, you're
and I think this is wait. Am I misremembering this? Doesn't like Rudius like see Aris and like, oh yeah. He sits down on the couch, but he now is thinking about that's when Pax's death really hits him.
Yes, because
he was crying.
Like, yeah, because what I wrote, because like Pax, like he had so many of his siblings killed, but he just wanted family, right? Like he what is his last wish to Benedicte and Randolph is like spoil the shit out of his kid, like give him the recognition and praise that he never got, right? Like he doesn't want his child to be like, feel like him, right? He wants something for his family that he couldn't get, and now here's Rudy having his family, having his his son who is a younger brother to just like Pax was a younger brother, right? And he's seeing that, and that's just like, fuck. And of course that's also really important because that's when he opens up to the family about to everyone about the man god and Lara as being the hero basically, and just like lays everything out on the table, and it's just like, this is what's going on and this is why everything's really fucking important. And what I took from that as well is just like I was thinking about I guess I think like the mutual reliance idea that you're really seeing like One Piece and Bleach with like Luffy and Ichigo trying to take everything on themselves, and like Rudy's kind of doing that too by like doing all this stuff with Orsted and keeping all these secrets from his family, but like as we see with like Zanoba and Pax were unable to like mutually rely on each other because of their distance, and so in light of the wake of Pax's death, Rudy does sort of open up to his family and make it like put them all on at least the same level of information, and because it is important and he does love them. So
it's good stuff.
But you skipped a bunch to get there. Because there's one thing that comes from the Randolph conversation was using the fighting god's armor to fight Laplace to protect his fiancée was fucking Bodyguardy.
Hey, he is the fighting god.
Yeah. Oh my god, see, I've just been like, okay. I've been because I was even thinking about how it's like, because they both have a beef with Laplace, and now we're finding out why Bodyguardy has his beef. And obviously we knew, I say both, I meant Ruijerd being the other person because we haven't seen him in a while. And I've been wondering when, like, in fact, the last time we saw them was together when they met and they parted ways. And then it's like, we literally haven't seen either of them since. I was just thinking about, like, I've been sort of waiting because, now that we know who the man god's third apostle has been the whole time, regarding my following up, not the way I expected exactly, but still following up some of my prior suspicions. Geese stocks at an absolute low right now, but I was just thinking about just to get to that for a second, because I thought it was Geese because he had this familiarity with Rudy. But how I read it was that the man god was pretending to be Paul, and this reading even kind of gave reason to not suspect Geese, because it would mention how the man god wouldn't choose people that Rudy knows. What I didn't consider was that Geese knew the man god before he ever met Rudy. And that, which is because that thus the familiarity with the person, because I thought it was an echo of Paul, like the man god was pretending to be Paul to trick Geese, but it's like, no, he was talking to the man god. He knew exactly who that fucking was. Fuck. And so I guess going back to that, I was thinking about Bodyguardy was previously an apostle of the man, the apostle of the man god. So that's fucking not a good sign at all. God. Well, because I was even worried about Ruijerd a bit, because obviously it's very hard to imagine Ruijerd going against Rudy, and I don't think it's going to happen at this point. But I was just thinking about how there's the Laplace question of, just because it's just so Ruijerd is against Laplace, even Rudy was talking about how it's he's trying to build an army to fight Laplace, and Ruijerd is he's the guy, right? But I was even just thinking about how the enemy, there's the idea of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but it's no, Laplace is an enemy of the man god, but he's also the enemy of Rudy and Orsted. right, and Lara, so it's like they have two enemies, and those enemies are also enemies with each other, but it's like there's, so I was just thinking about, that's a dynamic, and I was wondering if, like, would the man god be able to spin that in a way to put Ruijerd against Rudy or something. I don't know how, but I was just like, look, after Geese, it's like I can't trust anything anymore.
And for that matter, maybe even Bodigatti. He used to be a fucking apostle. Because
these guys these guys are cool dudes. It's like, well, when they were talking with Rudy was an apostle of the man god, so it's like, yeah, they were on the same side, and now it's like, oh no.
It really does even recontextualize Rudius's first meeting with Bodigatti, because it's like, I win, lol, but no, you would have. He would have.
Bodigotti's literally immortal. Like, Rudy, that's not easy to defeat.
Not only immortal, but he is number 3 on the rankings.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Someone even with the status of Perugius has stated. He said, "Hey,
oh yeah, that's right. Don't fuck with the top 3. Fuck.
Yeah, don't ever fight the top 3. Just don't do it."
Yeah. Yeah, because they were...
Even though he knows Rudius's power. He knows Rudius's power. That even affected his own power when he first just summoned the guy. So he knows. Mm-hmm. This is the same guy who survived Orsted already. He's like, no, don't do it.
Yep. Technique God Lapis, Dragon God Orsted, and Fighting God Bodyguard. Fuck! Are there any... I'm trying to think of if there's any names in the 7 powers who we don't know yet at this point in the reading. Because number 4 is Death God Randolph. Hold on. Actually, I can find it. Hold on.
Well, I think it's... unless maybe that was an error in one of the volumes.
Okay. I wrote them all down, but anyway.
Number 4 should be Lapis.
Oh no, you're right. No, I misremembered. Yeah, no, you're right. Number 4 is Demon God Lapis. Number 5 is Death God Randolph. Number 6 is Sword God Galfalion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then number 7 is North God, who I don't know if they've been named.
Number 6, I guess, is to be determined actually right now, given the revelation we got at the end of this. But that is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right.
That's another fucking wrench in the story. That's like,
the greatest swordsman is presumably unranked. Yeah, unless I don't know what the fuck to make out of that. Honestly, because I was like trying to think of like, do I know this character? Like, because it's supposed to be like a big important guy, and I was trying to pick up on clues and be like, do I know this guy? Have I heard of him somewhere? It's like, yep, couldn't figure it out.
You did. I should not have said anything. You didn't figure it out. Okay, I thought it was like obvious. I was like, oh, it's obviously this guy.
Oh, was it? Okay. Well, okay. Wait. All right. Well, I was. Okay. I was. All right. I'll just be ignorant. It's fine.
Oh my god! I thought this was a Obito Naruto moment, because like at some point in the work, it's like, oh, this is just Obito. Like, is that now that Madara is revived? This is just Obito. Like, it's. Okay, I'm so sorry. I thought it was like, I thought you would know, like, okay, this is this guy. This is good. There can't be anyone else but this guy. Because at the end, especially the little note, there's a note Geese has where it's like, oh, there's only one guy that fits that criteria. I thought you would. I'm so sorry. Fuck.
No, it's okay. Well, I mean, I'm just trying, because it's like, I don't know, because now, because I mean, if it's Galfarian, I guess, oh, did he leave? I don't know, maybe. Because I just don't remember where. I thought it was just at the Sword Sanctum still. So I mean, I don't know, but then I don't know anything about the North God. I don't remember. So that's who I was assuming. I get them wondering it might be, but he's not. I don't know. I'll just maybe I'm just not paying enough attention. But
okay.
Or maybe it's just a case where you already know, so you saw it, like, because obviously, like. Anyway, we'll just drop it there. Let's drop it there. How about that?
Okay, gotcha.
And I'll feel stupid if I realize it later, and or when I find out for sure. And I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, back to this story. I'm just trying to read through my notes and see if I had anything more to say. Oh yeah, because we do get the Zanoba perspective. I'm trying to remember if I have anything. Oh yeah, no, just like seeing his respect of Rudy, like the way that he respects Rudy, like Rudy respects Roxy. Wait a minute, so hold on. So if Rudy is the Grand Master to Julie, who's Zanoba's master, that means Roxy is Julie's great grandmaster.
The great grandmaster Roxy McGregor, or Roxy Grey Rat. Roxy
yes.
M. Grey Rat.
Yes. So that's funny. And yeah, of course, Orsted realizing his mistake of that after he killed Jade, he should have, or not Jade, Leonardo the King, because he, that was his role in this, was like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely the Apostle of the Man God. I'm gonna go fucking kill him. Then like him, because like earlier with the volume 7, or I think it was it was volume 17, where he's like, okay, I trust you now, Rudy. Where this volume kind of has him not trusting in Rudy enough, right? Because, or not trusting in Rudy too much, excuse me. Because he was like, oh, Rudy's got this, when as he realized after the fact, it's like he should have headed there ASAP, because like because Rudy couldn't deal with it alone, and maybe Orsted could have killed Jade and turned the whole situation on its head, so because he being an outsider, like, and not being involved, like, he is able to look at things more objectively, and because obviously Rudy was trapped by his biases, but if Orsted had moved in, then he would have not been limited by that. So and of course also Rudy realizing that like he can't use Orsted as a crutch anymore, because he wants to he needs to get stronger on his own and not just rely on Orsted too. So it's like that kind of mutual failure, I suppose.
Yeah, I see this as like it almost is super reminiscent to me of like when Naruto loses in the first final valley fight, and then Jiraiya's like, give up on him, give up. Orsted's kind of playing Jiraiya's role. He's like, there's always next loop. This, it kind of sucks, but I now know that you're like my avenue to actually defeating the Man God, so I'll hit you up next time, Luke, brother. And Rudius is like, well, no, this is my one life, bro. And so like Naruto's like, no, I'll be a fool. I will fucking chase after Sasuke, right? Rudius is like, nah, I'm gonna put in more effort and just get the people that can help you so that you don't have to fight.
Yep, and then he's build a fucking army to fight Lapras when the time comes. And let's fucking go.
Let's fucking do it. Right into volume 20, baby. And before I start talking about volume 20, I need you to talk for a little bit, because I really need to go to the bathroom.
Go ahead. I was just going to... Well, right we have a little bit more... No, yeah, go ahead. So we have a little bit more before volume 20, because there's the extra chapter where we get... the fucking painting of the Death God at the table of the people who are, they're not chained to the table, not being literally forced to eat, but they are technically being forced to eat, and also they might be dead because nobody likes Randolph's cooking. And even Pax just sort of assumes that it's like, yeah, this food's probably poisoned. These guys are being punished, and so he's like, whatever, I'll eat it. I don't fucking care anymore. And but like Randolph's actually just the sweetest man, and the soldiers think they're being punished, but he's just like, no, you guys seem bummed. I'm gonna cook you some fucking home cooking. It's gonna be swell. Y'all are gonna love it. And he's just the nicest fucking like skull-faced eye patch man who's like one of the strongest people in the world. What a good guy. Oh, and I didn't even realize it until the two of them were, like, together and bonding, but Rudy ruined both of their lives. Like, the reasons both of these two met are because Rudy ruined their fucking lives. Well, of course, as we find out, like, because in the other timeline, Randolph, ended up in this position anyway, because that's how Orsted remembers it. Where Pax still rose to power on his own, but he wasn't, like, outcast and returned. These two specifically meeting in this timeline is because of Rudy, though more so on the Pax side, and that whole debacle getting him outcasted rather than the Randolph side. But and yeah, Pax just being a Chad and eating the food and being like, yeah, this shit's good actually, because it's just not to most people's tastes. Since it's just a good chapter of just seeing them bond and just retroactively getting that context of like, yeah, these two they had a similar relationship to Zanoba and Rudy. They were just fucking friends, best friends, really. Yeah, it's good stuff. Fun chapter.
Good stuff indeed. Yeah, very good chapter. You covered everything that I was also going to cover. The fact that it is kind of interesting to note that it's because of Rudius that they're both here, and it's also because of that the man god was able to use that against Rudius.
Yeah.
The fact that he brought these two together is pretty interesting to know. But yeah, no, you covered everything else. So good. Now
Volume 20,
which is, I have to say, it's just. I always think about, anytime I think about Mushoku Tensei, I think of like Family Son, you know, like the Fast and Furious meme. But really, I feel like resonates with me personally with Mushoku Tensei, because every like Zanoba family, right into back to more of Rudius's family, because remember, like there's a whole other fucking family that Rudius hasn't really interacted with, besides for one aunt and one little section of the story, right? Well, there's a lot more people in that family where this came from, and hey, looky there.
Boy.
We got some volumes about them.
And
we get more Zenith shit, which is great because, out of Paul and Zenith, the parents, like, Zenith has a really, really great extra chapter in volume fucking 1, but not much else, right? Because, I mean, after that, she's, a zombie. When we finally do see her again, actually, in the story. So,
but how that's used is still really good, and
it's still really great.
Oh my God.
And
oh my God!
Even without this, Zenith would be a good character, even without the stuff that we're getting now. But now that we're getting this stuff, now Zenith is a great character. It's crazy. Yeah.
But anyway, before we that's because I do like how because there's definitely like a story arc, slice of life episode, story arcs, like there's a beat, like a structure to it now, I think, with how now that Rudy's settled in and gotten his family. But I do like how this volume it's not a full volume of the slice of life stuff, which like volumes 13 or 18. It's half of that's half the volume, and then it's like, I guess we got to go to Milshon and just see the mother side of the family and get that sorted out, and that sort of just leads into volume 21 to the point, that they're kind of the same comic, but we do still get like a good half a volume of just some fun, some chill stuff.
Everyone's graduating, everyone's growing up. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's right. It's fucking Ginger sort of bonding with Zanoba and Julie in a sense, where she comes to appreciate big giant stuffed animals, and her having that one image with the big stuffed dog is just really cute from a character who isn't normally like cute, and just that even being brought up of just it's good stuff.
But I just mentioned graduation, and now Cliff is going to be, he's graduating. So now it's like, damn. Or go back to Millis.
Yeah, because I think Zanoba and Cliff get theirs, and then, or does Cliff come a year late? No, later. No, yeah, I think they're students in the same year, and then Rudy was later.
Yeah,
a year later.
Rudius is 1 year later. Yeah.
Yes.
But of course, Cliff, since he's delaying his arrival, it's just in time for Rudius to graduate too.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to say about the graduation stuff.
I mean, it's definitely it's just like it's similar to how I like talked about like last reading. I talked about like fucking I can't remember the name right now. Peacock Blade. Holy shit. Auber. Thank you. My brain. Because I was thinking but then I was like Arus, and it's like, no, that's Rudy's son, the other guy. I just couldn't remember it.
Very similar names, yeah.
And I was like him being like a ninja, and then Wita and Ghislaine having that sort of like samurai like calling of their names thing. The graduation stuff is also very. I think I talked about this element before on the podcast even. Probably, I forget when, but just graduations being like, with my experience with graduation, more be like, this is the thing that happens, whatever. Where in Japan, it feels it's like, especially with the way it's presented with anime and manga, it's way more sentimental. And so just another observation there with just like the way that graduating is being presented here in this Western fantasy inspired thing. Or where it's like, well, it's a Japanese work, so it's still presenting graduation as this very like sentimental and meaneful thing. I have a little
bit of contention with that.
Well, how do you mean?
Well, no. I think with the difference between the West and East, the graduation is just as big in the West. I feel like. Like
I
when
mean,
it comes
not
to
from
like
my
high school
personal
and college
experience, I
graduation.
guess.
Okay, well, because I was going to say my personal experience too is the same in that like I didn't care about either my high school or my college graduation, but those around me, and even in Western media, I see a lot. Even high school graduation is huge. It's like a really big deal. You see that all the time in movies and in television.
Well, I was just the examples I'm thinking of with high school graduation, where it's like, well, I guess one difference is also like with Japanese stuff. It's like, yeah, you're right. Well, I guess like one thing I was trying to get at was like, also like, so Japanese stuff. It's like, you know, you're leaving high school, which is presented as like kind of an ideal time in your life to go into the, you know, workforce, which is generally and more restrictive. And you know, like it's generally not like you're losing something, and that's why they're
okay. I see. I think I know what you're saying. So you're saying because in the West, it's more like this one phase of my life is done. But look at what I have to look forward to. Well,
yeah, and
college,
if anything, in America,
college experience.
Yeah, you have.
And then whereas in Japan, it's like, oh, high school was the last fucking opportunity I'm going to have to have fun.
In America, when you're a kid, you don't have freedom, and when you're an adult, you do have freedom. In Japan, when you're a kid, you have more, you know, at least more freedom than you do when you're an adult, so to speak. Because like when, like one example that this is, so delinquency, this is especially more of a case with like the 90s and before. But like there's the idea that like, it used to be the case where your juvenile record would just be completely expunged when you reach adulthood, basically. So there's this sort of like you get it out of your system when you're younger, and then you grow up and get your shit together, basically. So there's a way in which like juvenile delinquency, at least in some periods, was like somewhat more accepted in Japan, because you're expected to grow out of it, right? So there's, again, that also kind of feeds into the idea of like you have more freedom in high school than when you grow up and become a salaryman and you're just a wage slave for the rest of your life, but you know, getting a lot of money. So I don't know, I was just more thinking of that, just that in the context of, I don't know, I just thought about that. But yeah, now I think about it, it's like it's like, because especially for Rudy, it's not really that important to him, but like, you know,
well, I mean, but that's the thing, it wasn't then. I mean, he didn't even graduate anything when in his previous life, but now, like, even at the beginning of this volume, he's like, I love graduations, like he's like crying at the graduations and stuff. Like it means a lot to him now. He loves going to these things. There's some good stuff that happens here. Like I like the like Rudy having 4 hours of duels, because like he's gonna like, this guy like, oh, he wants to fight me because, you know, he wants to have this like, you know, going away thing. It's like, sure, I'll oops, oh no he's got to beat up people for 4 hours. So okay, here we go. And how Norn is like, yeah, whatever, I'll just make a line for you, brother. I'll let you flex a little bit, bro.
There was also the that's what I thought was neat about it. So because Cliff's little adventure with Norn was also really good. Yes. Where they find out that some people died and the school kind of covered it up. Well, that's fucked up. But Cliff getting that sort of character moment of seeing like wanting this, like, because like obviously it's like Norn could have gone to Rudy, but like no, she wanted to do this as the student council president with the student council, and that sort of like gave Cliff his answer of like, because Rudy was like, hey, you want to use Orsted's connections and get high up in Millis? That would really help me with the Lapis shit I'm trying to pull off. And Cliff's like, I'll think about it. And then of course, like, so that's what that does for him. But I don't know, it was also just kind of neat seeing like a low level adventure, in a sense, like these with some like level 1 and 2 characters instead of like Rudy's like fucking level 20 epics, you know, going back to like starting level D&D versus epic level D&D was just an interesting I guess juxtaposition, and also learning that the descriptions from Cliff's Eye of Identification are in Kirishka's voice. And like, wait, like,
yes,
that's so
such
fucking
a cool
funny.
revelation.
Like, this is a barrel, yo.
He has like parse some things, obviously, because sometimes like it's gonna be way too colloquial for Kirishika. It's so funny.
It's like, such a good gag.
Of course, the Demon Island word. It comes from Kirishika, so it's funny.
She's pregnant, yo. Earlier when he was looking at
I was literally that's exactly what I was reading. I was like, what if he just saw this and this bitch preggers. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm not quite good enough with Kirishka's voice to know exactly how she'd say it, but it is funny to imagine.
That's
it's very good, very good.
Shit. Yeah. Good Norn and Cliff stuff.
Yes.
On the board. Not much to say though, other than that. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was reading it as well.
Then we get are the interludes new? I know the extra chapters are new, but were the interludes new as well to you?
No, actually.
Okay, so the interludes were in the web
I remember
novel.
this. Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
I remember the Nina shit. I do. Yeah.
I love how she's even worse at reading than Eris is. She's so dumb and cute.
That's great. It's great. That's funny.
But God, just her being just like a good idiot and just like being sold the Ruijerd figurine was funny, and then just her having all these misunderstandings, especially like I don't know. I think like the Eris contrast because like. Nina is a sword nut. Like she, like swordsmanship has been everything to her, and like that's like because and comparing that to Eris, where it's like Eris is almost as good as her with the sword, but she's just like more well-rounded as a person. Like she can read better, not well, but better. She is better at but then she's got like a whole love life and a family and a son. Where Nina is like. She doesn't like Nina is going around the city and she doesn't know what the fuck to do. What's going on, right? She's lost because she's a country girl who barely knows how to read, and
and then here Eris is fitting in right with like the city life, and it's so cool too. Something worth noting is that Nina is the one actually that was faced with this. This sort of hypothetical scenario where Gaul was like, what would you rather have, to be a sword king or to up your title or Gina? And she's like, well, sword king, obviously. That's like what I've dedicated my life to. And he's like, you haven't learned enough yet. You haven't learned enough, kid. And then here she's being literally faced with that sort of how she's now going into this new environment. She's had this notion on her mind where it's like, oh, I'm going to be facing Isolt as an equal. But not just that. It's like Isolt is connected to one other, or Isold rather, is connected to one other individual. That is Eris. Well, I'm a sword king now. Me and Eris can now face each other as peers again, like we used to as sword saints. She got ahead of me for a little bit and went away. But you know what? I'm walking back now as a sword king myself. What's the first thing she sees? It's like, oh, Eris has something much more valuable than that. Like, she is way ahead of me still. Nothing has changed from back then to now, as a matter of fact. And it's just like really cool because it goes right back to that old conversation she had with her dad, with the sword god himself. So I think that's really, really cool. And even more so, she can't even see some of what Eris has gained because it's a cool little note is that what she doesn't see is the two other wives, to the side over there that are also here for this festival. Where it's like, but that's interesting to note given that because of Eris's dynamic with Sylphie and Roxy, she's matured and grown and gained a lot of perspective. And the fact that she's even willing to compromise on sharing Rudius's affection it says loads amount in itself, right? Like the growth Eris has experienced by being, by sort of being ingratiated in this familial environment is really, really telling, and especially looking at it from the perspective of Nina.
Well, and also just reading it for the first time I was like, oh, Nina chapter, and then it's just like, oh yeah, Rudy and Eris are in this whole other part of the world, and I was like, what the fuck? Like that was a bit of a whiplash for me because and then of course it's like they're even the narration is like, oh yeah, Sylphie and Roxy and Zanoba and Julie were here too. We'll get back to that later, and it's like okay.
I mean, also funny thing is too is like she thinks Lucy is the product of Rudius and Eris. When in actuality, it's like, but that's so cool. This is not Eris's kid, but Eris is like almost treating her like a secondary or tertiary mother. She's like, hey,
similar
Lucy,
similar to Zenith and Aisha, right? Where Aisha,
exactly. That's so cool.
Also, the stuff with Ariel, like, oh no, Rudy's pressuring Ariel into carnal relations and just being dumb and pure and having this misunderstanding. I also thought it was, I had a joke in mind because, so Ariel, after they alleviate everything, she's like, rest assured, Nina, tonight's party was planned by Rudy. I believe we'll have the chance to talk later, but for now, please relax and enjoy the evening. And for some reason, I imagine it's just a smash cut, and Ariel's in bed with a very confused Nina. Just like,
that would make a whole lot of sense.
Nina's looking for love. I see we have something in common. Just and it's Ariel. She's bi as fuck. So I just thought about that, and it's like that would be that would have been funny. Obviously, that's not how it went. I just have my head in the gutter constantly. So
no, I like your thinking. That could have potentially been canon. At least the offer should have been canon. That makes sense. Nina's a good-looking woman. Ariel likes the good-looking ones for sure.
And it turns out the party was just recruitment for Orsted.
Yes. Of course.
But the next chapter was also really good. With Aisha and Norn's birthday.
Oh yeah. I guess we didn't know. Like, probably very important is that Nina,
Oh yeah, sorry.
She asked Gina. She's like, hey.
Oh yeah. It did. Yes.
Let's become a thing.
Yeah, she decided that she can't just live for the sword either. So
Yeah. So she's now going to hopefully catch up with Eris now.
Yeah.
In a true, real sense. Anyway, yeah. Okay, cool. Now we can move on.
Yes. Just I don't know. Yeah. Very good. Especially just like
really, this is a really good slice of life stuff. This is like volume 13 type great slice of life stuff.
Well, and just seeing Aisha, who's normally like so competent and skilled, and she's just like getting bummed out because Norn's getting all this affection, and Aisha's like, oh, I thought, well. Like, yeah, she's getting
my mercenary.
Yeah, I thought, I had friends too, and then of course, she does. They're just slow, and also Linnea and Percent are terrible and stupid, but they do love her, and that they alleviate that funk that she was in. That's because she was sad. It's very, very sweet and cute.
Okay, what the fuck does? Okay, I know it's like a Paul statue, but like, how big is the statue again? Like,
the bust. I assumed it was like probably smaller than actual size, but still like probably hefty, right? So
that's just crazy.
I forgot about that gift.
Yeah, that's an insane gift. But Norn seemed happy with it, so good stuff.
Oh man. And then after that was we found like Rudy coming up with his plan to summon the magic armor by using, because I think like early on in the volume they mentioned how physical objects can't be summoned. Like there was the water bottle. I was even noting how it's like, well, we saw the water bottle and the watermelon get summoned, but then it's like so what's actually happening is like the space is switching. Right. Well, no, that was definitely a summoning because there was no other magical circle. But this is Rudy's workaround where he's leaving the magic armor version 1 on a summoning circle and then carrying his own summoning circle to summon it. Which is like I think he compares it to like Superman with the phone booth transforming, where you could just like boom, I'm a magic armor now, which is really cool.
And then it's and it very quickly is utilized a little bit later on. So this is cool that we get a little bit of exposition to get the payoff.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you get some child updates with just Lucy being a good and watchful big sister is very cute. Lara indeed being a cocky child because she's being treated like royalty by an incredibly powerful spirit dog, and also she can read minds, and she's she is exceptional, but also she needs a little bit of humble pie. Maybe one day. She's also like an infant, so not yet. And Aris loves boobs and pissing himself. Is to living the dream, little buddy.
Hell yeah. It's a mighty fine existence that baby is experiencing. And I think. And then
I think we get into
we get the letter.
Yes, the letter. With the Latria family wants what's Aisha, Norn, and Zenith and her children basically,
everyone is against it.
Yeah.
Even Lilia, which is very shocking because Lilia even seems like, oh, I don't know about this, which is like Lilia is always like the whatever you wish, master, right?
Yes. Because the way Zenith sort of like has Lilia, because Sylphie's pregnant with her next kid, So she leaves wants Lily to stay and help Sylphie as they're trying to like work through all that, and very good.
But we get another great Zenith moment where she's like going up to Lilia like, I got this. It's okay. It's okay. You need to stay here. It's like, man, that's so sweet. I love Zenith. Mm-hmm. She doesn't even need to say anything. That's the thing. That's the beauty of her character right now. Like, it's like, and time again, she never even has to say anything. It's like, damn, Zenith, you're a real one. Anyway, so that's nice. And another baby coming. Mm-hmm. Will it be another female? Will Aros have a brother? Let's see. We'll find out.
Oh boy.
On the next episode of Family Getting Bigger,
will it be Lapless? That's the elephant in the room. No, I don't think so. But what if? He's already had one kid who displaced the fates of other people. Anyway. Oh yeah, and also, so Rudy. I thought it was interesting because Rudy was thinking about Clive and Lucy ending up together because obviously and I was like, wait a minute, Clive is Lucy's uncle.
Oh shit! Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but that's like technically
which, by the way,
true.
I also have an uncle who's younger than me, so
wait. Okay, wait.
So Ellen Elise's son is Clive, and Ellen Elise's granddaughter is Lucy. So no, wait, great granddaughter actually. Wait, hold on. Yeah, great grand. I misplaced it, but they're still related. That my point being, but not as closely as I thought.
Would he technically be a grand uncle?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, no, I misremembered because I think so. Because then there's also like the second cousin once removed and shit, and I really don't understand that because we don't experience that in real life, really. At least we don't think of families in that way. So I don't.
An uncle's an uncle, whatever.
I just thought it was no. It's not. Yeah, I was using a personal where my I literally do have an uncle that's younger than me, but this is a great uncle who's younger than her. So that's even
That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Oh man.
That's cool though.
Cool. And that's right. As they're traveling, just like the little world building thing where goblins are like, Rudy basically kind of realizes that they're basically demons, but because they're in an environment where they're systemically treated like monsters, so they kind of continue to exist as monsters. So in theory, like he's like killing them, and he's like thinking, but they can be people, like they are in other fantasy settings, right? Like that's his experience. Because sometimes they're monsters, sometimes they're cognitive beings. And just like, I don't know, that was the whole like Rudy having an existential crisis while killing monsters, basically.
That shit is so funny. Like Aisha's just like, bro, what are you talking about? Are you crying, bro? It's like, pick it up, bro.
Oh man. That's right. And there was also wait, did it happen yet? When was this around when they did or was it later when they did the interview with the merchant? I think that was maybe even the earlier in the volume, because they were trying.
I think that did happen early. Yeah, we literally skipped it, and that was actually cool. Setup.
Yeah.
And then seeing how Rudius and Zanoba operate from an outside perspective is really cool because it's like, oh, you truly are like the right hand of the Dragon God Orsted. The way you think is like, and the connections you have, like how like any thought can be realistically entertained because of all the connections you have. That's crazy because he mentions Ariel. He's like, what the fuck? I guess they don't call you the right hand of the Dragon God for nothing. All right, man. Mm-hmm. And just how he actually is very, very useful in the business, and then how him and Zenoba are already like going back and forth with different like strategies and ideas. It's cool. Getting like literally, why I find it cool is because a series called Jobless Reincarnation, Rudius not having any occupation in his previous life, like a big part, something that's always on the horizon is like Rudius's, business venture idea to mass produce Ruidrid figures, right? So
it's been a thing for like 20, almost like 15 volumes. Like it's been a thought in his head.
But now we're seeing the fruits of like that idea, like how it's legitimately becoming. Even the mercenary band is an extension of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's got legitimate businesses going on right now. Not only that, but like he is, the Orsted's #1 worker, where he's getting compensated handsomely for it. So it's like the guy is like he is. A loyal worker. He's an entrepreneur. He's like, that I find that really cool because it's like Mushoku Tensei a lot of the times is just like a fantasy slice of life, but in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. Especially given that we're getting true fantasy action always all around everywhere, right? But family, that slice of life stuff, the business aspect, the economy, all that stuff, that slice of life, more slice of lifey stuff in this fantasy world is very, very prevalent. And I love it always coming back because it always shows me like we're still hyper consistent with the theming and how Rudius is really, really doing so much in this new life and really using every ounce of this new life he can to make the most of it. I think is just so fucking cool. He's constantly busy, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm. So the reason, it was really good. But the reason I thought about it was cool because I skimmed through and what Rudy asked Aisha how things were going with the mercenary band, and for some reason I was like, well, the merchant was. I thought Aisha was involved with that for a second because I was trying to remember why I wrote that note, and I remember that scene, which it was really good and neat. Like him having that outside perspective of I'm pretty sure he notes that like most people or maybe it's just I don't know. I remember the figurines end up selling more because of the reading guide at the end, which was like an afterthought, and it turned out to be the main seller. And I feel like I remember the merchant saying something, or I forget what the merchant said regarding that, but I'd have to reread it, I guess. Never mind. I skimmed through, and what I actually wrote that note about was Aisha sort of being like the bad cop of the mercenary group, where because she's so like competent and she ends up like looking down on others for their failures, where like Linnea and Persona kind of like comfort the people who fuck up. So like they sort of created a good cop bad cop dynamic in their group in a sense. But Aisha's unfortunately the bad cop, but they still love her. But she is the bad cop, where she's just like she's just and Rudy's trying to like help her in that way. Sort of again like if anything that's kind of the recurring thing because that was the same like with Linnea as well. In the first place, that was kind of a sticking point was Aisha being harsh on failure. So Yeah.
Good stuff. But that conversation happens while they're going to Millis.
Yes.
And
then they get there.
When they arrive in Millis, one of the first things that props up in their carriage is the man of the hour.
Mother.
Man of hours.
Fucker. See, I'm gonna be real. This is probably when I realized that yes, Geese is indeed the apostle of the man god, because it's like, why the fuck else is he gonna be here, right? Which in fairness, I feel like the only way he could have appeared in the story and me not to be suspicious is if Rudy sought him out purposefully, and there was a reason to do so. But the fact that he just happened to show up was definitely like, okay. I think, he's very, like, Geese stock's dropping. I feel like there was something else in here that made me briefly think, it's like, oh, maybe not. Maybe it's just because he didn't really do that much, like, negative against them. Like, but then, of course, by the end, he's like, yeah, I'm an apostle of the man god. It's like, fuck! You motherfucker!
Fuck you!
Yeah, so,
Yeah. So basically everything.
Well, he even says the ominous, like, "You won't be seeing the last of me, boss." And I'm like, Very
funny. Good one.
Motherfucker. But there was another. I think he was talking about his wives, and he was like their breasts specifically around that moment because he's like, Sylphie's gives me luck. Roxy's gives me morale, something like, or maybe it's the other way around, like, and then Eris is a time skip power or a time leap power, and I'm like, that's very funny.
I think Sylphie's was the. Oh no, Sylphie's is restoration. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, gotcha. And then
and then
Roxy is luck because it's God.
Because it's God. God's luck, and then Eris is Which Eris was again?
It was a time jump, a time leap, power time skip, because she knocks him out and he wakes up in the future.
Ah, yes, of course. Yes,
Which I thought that's very funny. Fucking funny. That's just like really clever.
Very, very funny. Yeah. I should have.
Oh man.
Refugin with the jokes, man. They always hit.
And then also just another reference I caught where I don't know if you would catch it because if you're not familiar with the source material, but Rudy calls Ishar Aznavelrat the Red Comet, which is a reference to Shar Aznavel from Gundam, the original Suit Gundam. Gotcha. So because they don't actually mention Gundam there. But if you've seen Gundam, or he's like one of the most important and famous characters from it, so you would know if you knew. But I just wanted to share because I figured you probably, I don't think you've gone through Gundam, so maybe some of them, but not the original. Probably most likely. So I just figured from what I don't
even remember the reference because it didn't. You
didn't clock what you didn't recognize it, so of course it didn't stick with you any. And anyway, then we get to House Latria. Oh, and I was wondering how this was going to go. Well, first off, the cover of the volume, look at that handsome motherfucking man. Look at him.
Hell yeah,
holy
that's my
shit.
boy.
I saw that, I was like, I want to see this volume, because just look at that handsome motherfucker. He is dressed and nice and dapper as fuck. Let's go. I really liked it. And of course, knowing especially going into the volume, why he was, the letter was mid-volume. I did see the cover for all 3 volumes, so I kind of figured that it's like, oh, this is just the Zenith family. I think at some point, I just kind of assumed because it's like, well, Zenith's there. She's kind of why is she here? It's in 2 volumes.
So going into this volume before you even,
I kind of assumed that they were going in this direction. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, and I think especially because, they're talking about Claire, and then we see her, and especially, ending off this volume, I was kind of expecting it to go the sort of Pax route, where it's like they're presenting this very, harsh character who people are negative on, and then it's like, oh no, they're actually, sympathetic and reasonable. But of course, I'm still having that, is the man god involved? I'm sort of living the same fear as Rudy of just, this motherfucker could be anywhere. And so, therefore, you have to consider him being literally everywhere, even if, he literally doesn't give a shit about anything happening here at all. Really. Geese is here, but Geese is, he's just meeting the person he's going to want to kill, pretty much, and just, mostly scoping out for information to see, this is what Rudy can do, and, getting all that from the conflict that the man god didn't even have anything to do with.
He did, because Geese is doing this all for the.
Well, Geese does enable it, but the Pope, I consider the Pope. To
everyone outside of Geese,
Geese just took advantage of it to get information on Rudy, but overall, the man god himself, the man god didn't order Geese to do that. Geese is he's acting with the man god in mind, but overall, this large conflict just doesn't have anything to do with the man god. He just has one apostle doing making one move of offering up Zenith to the Latria household, basically. At the end of the day, Geese got, because what Geese was there for, why he even he won.
Zenith to be captured, is because he wanted that to start a conflict with Rudius, so that Rudius would show his power. So it's another victory for the man god.
Absolutely,
coming off the back of his victory in Sharon. But at the same time, this one affected Rudius a lot less because he gets a big victory in the form of family.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So,
because and I was just I was just very curious to see this conflict play out, because especially, and we see it when he leaves the estate, and it's the guards couldn't do anything to him. He's fucking Quagmire Rudius, right hand of the fucking dragon god Orsted. He's way too high level for this shit. And so I was
speaking of which, I love the switch up in this in this arc, because I did take note before this that Rudius consistently, or people consistently call Rudius the right hand of the dragon god. Rudius, however, always refers to him as I am underling of Orsted.
Yes.
This arc is the first time Rudius is like, okay, I'm going to glaze myself as much as the next guy because Claire is pissing me the fuck off.
Yeah.
I am the right hand of the dragon god, motherfucker.
Oh man.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. I did take note of that. I was like, oh, this is the first time he's acknowledged what literally everyone else acknowledged.
Yeah, but I thinking about like how this conflict could resolve when like Rudy's at such a high level. It was just interesting to think about because like it's also a conflict that just raw power can't solve, right? Like that's because I guess piggybacking off of a comment about on the last episode there was let me find it real quick. I closed the episode for some reason. But it was Coop Hawk. He mentioned how he likes how Orsted is handled as far as like being a powerful character. Because I don't know, I guess like I don't really run into stories where I think that the powerful characters aren't being handled well. And I mean, not that I don't understand liking Orsted and him, because like, he has his like limitation with the mana, and he's just got a big picture to worry about, so he's not going to help Rudy for every little thing. But I don't know, I just in general think about like characters in the context of like how strong they are and how a lot of problems in the narrative like they really can't be solved by strength, I guess. So, and this was kind of like what I thought was interesting about this conflict, because it's like, you know, he can't just bust in and like yeah, he could, you know, take his mother out of this place, but it, you know, like that didn't solve anything, you know. So but anyway, but yeah, fucking Claire, and just like, no, it was such a good interaction because we were just like obviously getting Aisha, like knowing about like how Aisha and Lilia feel about her, and even Norn, right? Where like everyone who we know who's met her has been like, and of course like she's immediately just very harsh and just like, but like Rudy's just like, you know, he's able to, you know, keep up with her in a sense of just like, you know, giving logical answers and not like until Zenith's like fuck.
Like, it is so, dude, that scene is like, this is the one scene other than the finale in volume 21. This is the other scene that is like stuck with me so viscerally. I remembered all of this shit from the moment Claire talks about, I'm gonna, you know, there's sure to be, it might take a couple times, but there's sure to be one suitor that that Zenith can get acquainted with, and they'll be fine with her current state. And then like Rudius just absolutely going ape shit,
dude.
Like
and I'm right there with him. Like, holy fuck! Like just the objectification, the adherence to tradition, right? Like it's so easy to be angry at Claire, and then retroactively we find out that it's like, no, she was agonizing every step of this, and then here's like Rudy be like giving that rightful anger towards her when like she's really imagining something way worse than what she's doing, right? Because obviously what Rudy's imagining is like, oh my god, he's gonna marry off my mother to a guy, some fucking fat ugly, you know, ugly bastard type, just who's just gonna fucking assault her assault a catatonic woman every night, right? Like that's what he's thinking of. Claire is thinking of something worse because she has the cure in mind from the research that she did, and she's hating that she's even fucking considering this, let alone trying to go through with it for the sake of her daughter. And then here comes along Rudy, and he does exactly what what honestly is a reasonable response, but just because she even mentions how like she kept it from him because she wanted to protect him. And
that's what I was about to say. Yeah. That's the craziest revelation of all, is even in this moment, she's kind of doing this for him too, because she already likes Rudius. Yeah. Like she already had an interest in him because of the stuff in Millis. Yep. Right. So it's like, and then now she's seeing like that she should have never she should have never dispelled her hope for Rudius, because the man before her is someone worthy of being respected. And so now she's trying to like, you know, sort of save him from that scrutiny for what she's about to do to Zen. So it's like, it's like such a hateable character so easily, with all the context put in front of you, becomes so, you know, understandable.
It's really good. Yeah. I thought I was going to say something. I already kind of said the way, I don't know. No, it's just, it's because again, I was kind of expecting it, but still seeing it play out and then thinking about it later, it's like, it's still really good. Because I was, if I had to choose, I was definitely going to lean towards like Claire is just being misunderstood, kind of like Pax was, versus like Claire's an apostle of the man god doing this to fuck over Rudy somehow. because obviously that's just a more interesting decision, and that's how it played out, and it was still really good. So yeah, but oh no, I was gonna mention how her first reaction upon seeing Rudy was like, oh fuck, Paul, like the man who stole my daughter away from me, right? But then of course like Rudy surpassed that, like like she had another, like, yeah, she was interested in him, but also she saw him and she thought negative of him, but then he proved to not really be like Paul, at least in that, like, not like that, at least, because Paul did, as we find out, Paul did come back to her because of or we knew kind of already, because of the rescue squad, anyway.
And so Rudius throws a lot of profanities out while also throwing around a lot of guards. Fucking Aisha is elated. She's like, yo, Pog, Rudius, get him, brother, let's go. Fuck my grandmother. Fuck her shit up. Let's go. Right after this is where like they go back.
Yeah, they go back because like Rudy explains everything to Cliff, and especially Cliff getting that offering that perspective of being like someone who's with Mills is like, yeah, technically like it would be tradition to marry your kids off, but like no, this is still pretty fucked. Are you sure you're not misunderstanding something? Which is also what Therese says later. Right, like they both have that same sort of like, I mean, no, this is considered foul even in this, like this isn't just tradition, like there's got to be something going on here, right? Which of course turned out to be the case. Then we had go on.
And then in going to meet the Cliff's grandfather,
yes,
I can't think
Harry.
of his titles.
Pope Harry.
The Pope. Thank you.
Yeah.
He does. He goes on a little excursion, and there he finds the blessed child.
Yes, and her fan club of otaku idol fans. The blessed child being their Oshi.
Okay. Wait. Okay, in the translation, I think there's multiple official translations from what I understand.
Of what?
Maybe like 2 or something. Of the light novel. The one I read.
Oh no! What term are you referring to?
So the term that Rudius gives a lot is he keeps calling them her simps.
Oh, that was not in the version I read. Okay.
Okay, because the otaku came in the reading that I had in 21. I'm familiar with what you're saying too, but in the one in 20 I was reading, he kept referring to them as her simps, and I was like, this does not.
I don't remember. Maybe he did, but
I don't think this is. I don't think this is. This just does not scream to be official. Like I'm just like, am I going crazy? Because he didn't really refer to them as simps in Volume 21. He just referred as what you say, like the otaku people.
Maybe it was because I'm searching Volume 20 for it right now. I'm finding the word simply a lot, or simple. I haven't found the word simps yet.
Okay.
Give me a minute to finish, because I feel like I would have. Oh, there was one translation that caught my eye, fuck, what was it? I did not have the word simps in my translation. So was that the one you read just like recently, or was it the web novel? Oh, interesting. Oh, maybe they changed that one, or one way or another. Like maybe I'm reading an older version, or you're reading an older version.
I'm going to it right now. There, I saw an e-girl and her simps. The woman wore a frilly, almost her face was reflected. Yeah, so like literally, it introduces in the version I read. There, I saw an e-girl.
What chapter is that? I want to find my version because I want to see.
So it's chapter 9, and mine it's page 177.
Okay. Because I'm Is it how close is it to the image of the Blessed Child and Therese?
It is more than a few
before or
pages
after it
away from that. It's before.
Before, okay.
Yeah, it's in the introduction of the Blessed Child.
Oh,
like before he even introduces himself to her.
Okay, yeah, because I'm Therese's mentioned. The rest. Okay, I see the e-girl's entourage mark, but I don't see the word simps.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Let me look, Because I was reading this on AnyFlip, but I figured this was the official because it's literally like the booklet. Like you scroll through it like a booklet.
Yeah,
too.
I only have the one mention of the word e-girl, and just of the 7 knights, only 2 were still cautious of me, while the rest had turned back to the e-girl's entourage. That's the only mention of e-girl in my copy of my file.
No, and then no mention of simp, right?
No.
Interesting. Let me go back. Shirotaka, 7 Seas Entertainment.
Oh yeah,
let's. Says here 7 Seas Entertainment.
Covering.
So yeah, on the cover, Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation 20, written by Rifujine Magonote, illustrated by Shirotaka, and then
first published in Japan 2019. What is this edition?
7 Seas Entertainment. Published in 2019 by Cutaway Corporation.
First printing January 2023.
Yeah, I'm curious as to why.
Yeah, I don't see anything about our. That's okay, that's weird.
Very odd.
Okay, we'll just have to leave it there. We didn't learn it. Yeah, just we have 2 different.
I mean, I am getting this off. Don't tell me, guys. I'm getting this off of It's called AnyFlip.
Okay, I think I got mine off of Nya. Their literature section, they have torrents, and I think I just got a torrent for all of Mushoku Tensei.
Okay.
So, anyway,
Gotcha.
No, we're good. So yeah, moving on. Let me find my place in my notes again. Getting introduced to the Blessed One, the Blessed Child. Rudy meeting the Pope, where it's like I don't know, like Cliff. I don't know, because I think when Cliff was bringing Rudy to him, like there was this like, Cliff wants to make it on his own, without Rudy, but I felt like it was Cliff helping Rudy. I guess it was something that could lead to Rudy helping Cliff potentially, with I don't know, that was just how I was thinking about the situation. And of course, obviously, Rudy they know about him. They've looked into him. he's the talk of the town where he lives by Renoa. So it's like, because he was like, oh shit, this guy knows some things about me. It's like, yeah, he does, Rudy. Because at first he thought it was Cliff informing him, but it's like, no, he's got his own sources. He's well connected. He's a powerful man, right? So makes sense.
And Rudius at this point is pretty famous. So
oh, absolutely.
It wouldn't be hard to get information on him. At least in Sharia, he's famous. But before he meets the Pope, he reunites with Therese.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say her name? I always forget how you say
I just say that's because I just think of like Mother Teresa, so I say Therese.
Teresa. Okay, gotcha. Teresa.
Well, there's no A, so that's why I stop at Therese. So
Therese. Okay, you say Therese too. I've been saying Therese as well. Okay,
yeah,
good.
We're probably wrong as occasionally we've been wrong on names, but it's like it's not too big of a deal. Honestly, we know what we're talking about. Sorry, I just remembered later on in the chapter where she's trying to get married, she mentions how her like ideal strike zone is like young boys who are almost adults, like 14-year-olds. Like she's not quite Shotokan, but she's like
adds another layer to her love.
Shonen Con there, which of course Rita contextualizes her being all cuddly with Rudy back when she met him back in volume 4 or whenever it was, of her just being like, oh, my cute nephew who is also like almost in my strike zone.
Therese is a bit of a freak.
Love her for it.
Yeah, same. I would turn myself into a shonen for Therese. 100%.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's cool, Rudius is like, hey, Therese, and Therese is like, oh my god, hey, where's Eris? He's like, oh, I'm married to her now. He's like, oh my god, marriage? I want to be married too.
Unfortunate.
And of course, which we get more context on later, that's really, really cool, because the Blessed Child really likes Eris, and he's like, oh man, where's Eris? I want to see Eris. Can we talk about Eris? But we get more perspective on that later, where it's like, it means a lot more to her. Like, She has literally modeled her whole like
Yep.
persona off that one encounter with
Oh yeah,
Eris.
no, I
So
was
it's
thinking about like later about how like because she's a little chubby, right? And it's like, oh, she doesn't get exercise, and it's like, oh, it's probably because she's been eating more food to be like Eris. And it's like, oh yeah, okay. Like I realized that later when she was talking about that, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. Because they even meant it's not like she doesn't go out or like she plays tag inside the labyrinth area with her guards and stuff, so it's not like she doesn't get exercise ever, even though she doesn't lead a very like physical life, but it's like no, she just eats a lot of food because of Eris and her metabolism and slash like obviously it's like Eris is a fucking monster, a physical exercise monster, so she is able to keep a lower weight. So I don't know. I was just thinking about that, and like, oh yeah, that's just a little detail that got recontextualized because it's like, oh yeah, she's just bigger than average for anime characters, and it's just like a detail, and it's like, oh no, there's a reason for it. Okay, that's neat. Yeah.
Neato.
And of course, we initially see, oh, she can discern truth and lies because she's able to determine, like look at Rudy and be like, yep, nothing he said is wrong, and then we find out the exact context of her ability later. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And then the volume ends with Geese stocks plummeting to their absolute low as he allows the Latria family to get a hold of Zenith. That's why I was envisioning things in terms of stocks, because I obviously predicted that Geese was the apostle before. And his appearance was near, like, it was obviously going to be the make or break regarding that theory. Like, as we find out, even Orsted was like, yeah, I've literally had that motherfucker at sword point in other timelines, and he didn't admit to being a man god's apostle, even though I thought he was. So, like, he kept it close to his fucking chest. Yep. Except when Rudy was involved. And, yeah, at that point, like, if I wasn't already thinking it, like, that was a reason to think it. Motherfucker.
This motherfucker. And, something I wanted to mention, since we're already on the topic of Geese being a traitor before he's revealed to be a traitor in the story, I think it is really, really cool that in the last time Rudius was in Millis, Geese was too. Mm-hmm. But Geese was there for one of his other parents, and he was nothing but a boon for Rudius.
Yes.
Because it was because of Geese's conversation with Paul that Paul even got the gumption to go and reunite with, or mm-hmm. have a true reunion per se with Rudius and amend that argument they had. Whereas now, Geese is only fucking up shit with his other parent. He is actively putting Zenith in the crossfire of Rudius and Claire in order to provoke Rudius to show his hand to the man god, right? So he's only acting as only acting as a detriment this time, whereas it's the exact opposite of the last time he was in Mills, which I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I did think about it like that.
Perspectively,
Motherfucker.
This motherfucker, yeah.
But
he's a cool guy, now he's a bad guy. What the fuck, Geese? What the fuck, Geese?
So one, I guess, funny thing I was thinking as far as early volume 21, because he's like, because obviously it's like, so House Latria has Zenith, and it's like, well, we want to get her back, so Rudy's like trying to come up with a plan, and his first thought isn't like, maybe I should talk to Cliff and see or maybe I should talk to Therese. She obviously cares about her sister and knows this is fucked up. Like, he's like, we should kidnap the blessed child. and it's like, wait, what the fuck? And then later he's like, like planning with Orston. It's like, but what if we kidnap the blessed child? And I'm like, I could snatch her at any time I wanted. Not that I would. It's like, you fucking... I think you just want to kidnap the blessed child, like, just for kicks. Like,
Well, no, what it is like, it just shows you, this is Zenith, like, when it comes to his family, Rudius, because he fought the fucking dragon god because of his family.
Yeah, of course.
Rudius will do anything and everything when it comes to his family, and Zenith is included on that list of family members. So it just goes to show you, he is exasperated, not just because like he's constantly thinking about what's the man god's role in this, but because it's Zenith that's in danger. He's
it's like, I think what I find funny about it is because like One is that it's so extreme because he does care about Zenith a lot, but also because he keeps doing it because like when he first suggests it, he gets like they calm him down about it, but then he proceeds to continue bringing it up in the next chapter, and it's like,
oh my god,
dude, you already got. I thought you got talked out on it, but you're still like, but we could kidnap the blessed. It's like he brings it up with the Pope after the fact. It's like, dude, and I think that's what makes it funny.
Listen. Things are going south. Okay, things are going south, but also adding to this. Not only there's another layer because of Geese, right? Remember what Geese says? The last thing he says, he's like, hey, remember what Paul told you in the labyrinth? Geese did that on purpose because he's like, I got to remind Rudius of this so that whenever the push comes to shove, he'll act more rationally, right? So there's another layer of that is that now that mantra is repeating in Rudius' head because of Geese reminding him, right? So it's like, this motherfucker Geese.
No matter what. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't really catch that, motherfucker.
This dude.
And yeah, also just another thing about that, the interaction with, well, because him going to Orsted was just like, Orsted helping to balance out Rudy and Cliff also being like a moral compass. But also like just the note that the Blessed Child has a weak destiny, so she's very like liable to die, which of course is like, I want to be on Team Orsted because I'd like to live past 30, please, thank you. And then of course Orsted's like general way about going about things, where it's like, when in doubt, just kill him, and it's like, Jesus.
Yeah, dude, like the fact that our main character, the guy who he follows, with absolute loyalty, is the guy who says that. It when in doubt, kill. It's like, that's crazy. Which
of course it's just perfectly fitting because like obviously for Rudy it's like this is his one life, and he has, never mind the cultural history he has from Japan with being averse to killing, and like as we saw in volume 19 is like even when he does do it, he really doesn't like it. He really hates it, in fact. Where with Orsted it's like he's lived his whole life with one very like clear purpose in mind, and he also lives a life in which like any action that he does, if he fucks up, it can just get erased, right? So like life just holds a very different value to both of them, and so it's very like apparent as to why their perspectives on killing are so vastly like antithetical, like completely opposite to each other, in fact. Right? So anyway, in the next chapter he just kidnaps the Blessed Child anyway. Like, I don't want to. We should kidnap the Blessed Child. Just kidding, haha. Unless.
Rudius' defense this time, she asked for it. So.
No, I know. It that makes absolute sense. Why it just became a bit with me because it was like, again, it just felt so extreme, and Geese is in his head and he cares a lot about Zenith, but then like again, especially the bringing it up regularly after the fact. But yeah, but we do get the neat fight against the Knights, where like we see they have like every fucking advantage, and yet Rudy still is like, nope, he's just gonna mist up and then just magic armor and just bonk them all. And it's like, did you really need to bonk Therese though? Like maybe you could have talked to her. And he's like, well, admittedly, it's like he was in a situation where it didn't seem like words would work, as he argued later, but it was like still a neat little fight of just like, it's just seeing how, especially like considering like Rudy was in like there's the barrier, and just like seeing how just powerful Rudy has become, it's just he's cool. It's cool.
Yep. See, just seeing, because like Rudius, and it's even noted later that they're the elite squad of the
yes
of the Cardinals Knights, right? And not just that, but like each one of them individually. Like one of them was even a sword, what was it, a sword saint or a water saint or a North saint? I don't know. What one of the sword classes, like saint tier, and most of them are at least advanced tier in certain schools of magic. They were effectively like negating Rudius's stuff with teamwork. So the teamwork was on par. They were like really powerful. But the fact of the matter is, and this is something we learned in Rudius's future diary, is like the magic armor, like pretty much no one but probably like the top 3 in the verse can contend with that shit. Like maybe just the technique god, Orsted, and fighting god, and that's it. Yeah. Everyone else probably loses to Rudius in in his armor.
Yes,
or his magic armor version 1 anyway, rather.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because obviously I thought of Randolph, and it's like, no, magic armor. That changes things significantly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, I mean, Lapis probably could.
Oh well, I mean, we haven't seen anything about like we've gotten whispers of him, but like at least I don't have a metric with which to judge how strong Lapis is. I guess except for that bodyguard, he needed the fighting armor to fight him. But still, I don't know. It is what it is. So
Yeah, because we don't. Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, Mushoku Tensei power scale.
Well, because that's the thing. Is like because I there's always like because the thing that, with power scale is always like the Nina, Isolde, Eris, like they all beat each other, right? So none of them are really strongest because it's a matter of like their capabilities and who beats who, right? So
it could be the case where it's like like. Maybe Lapis somehow loses to Perugius when he uses the armor, whereas like maybe the North God, the 7th great power, could actually beat Perugius because they have a certain technique that can counter a big
exactly.
Matchups matter, right? Matchups matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Anyway, but then we get
this matchup though. Unfortunately for our
Knights,
squadron, they did not stand a chance.
Because you reminded me that they're like, these guys are like elite and they have really good teamwork, but it's like it just in the face of Rudy, they just feel really weak, but they're not. Like it's just a weird like kind of like perception as a result of like Rudy just being so powerful that it's like, no, they are really cool. They just aren't given they don't look cool in the face of Rudy just being so absurdly powerful. So
it's cool shit.
But they Rudy confers with the blessed child, and they ultimately go to negotiate. And as they negotiate, like things start getting pushed against House Latria and Claire specifically, where fucking Zenith, let's go, fucking slapping Rudy, and what's the name of Claire's husband, Carlisle. I don't know how you pronounce it.
I was kind of saying his name like Carlisle, but I don't know if that's right.
Oh, okay, maybe, I don't know, because it's like. I don't know. There's ways you can read it that make it sound more feminine, but it's a man, so it's like, it's a interesting name.
Let me look.
Because I don't know the root, because I guess that's a problem I keep running into, like with Ghislaine, where it's like I was pronouncing it because I didn't know how it was pronounced because it's a real name, but it doesn't. Or Isolde was obviously our most notable talking point as far as names go.
Yeah. I've been saying Carlisle.
Okay,
so,
I'll just say it like that because that actually sounds like, I think that's a real name, or at least it's close to a real name.
I mean, I never looked it up. I actually don't know.
I just wouldn't have spelled Carlisle with an S, but I can kind of see it.
I don't know. Because I automatically did that because I was like, maybe it's like an island situation. Island is a silent S, right?
Oh yeah, it does say Isle. You're right.
And then Isle, of course.
Carlisle. Yeah, no, like if you cut out the Carl, it does spell Isle. So, Carlisle. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it sounds kind of cool. So that's
sure.
Also
we'll have like 8 comments correcting us if we're wrong. So explaining how it's actually pronounced.
Whatever. He's a cool character. I
was more talking about it because of Zenith slapping the shit out of him because they weren't like Rudy and Carlisle weren't protecting Claire when she was being, and obviously Zenith, she can read minds, she understands what her mother's going through, and like she's the one there for her, right? And of course Cliff too is also like, guys, what the fuck, this is a little fuck, don't you think? So just
Cliff, and that is the one, because like there is like Cliff is like, this is why I say like this is less a Cliff arc than what it was for like Zanoba.
Absolutely.
It's not equivocal, but the moments that Cliff gets are really fucking good in this one, like where he's literally like bitch slapping all of these high ranking people of Millis, like literally the highest ranking people, everyone's in this one room, Cliff just bitch slapping all of them, like, remember what Millis said about this? Remember what Millis said about what St. Millis said about this? Hey guys,
just him being just the pure good person in a room of like relatively corrupt church officials.
People have let the politics take precedence over the actual teachings, over the foundation of where their politics even come from, right? So it's like really cool to see Cliff like override all of them by going back to their roots. Like, remember, guys, we're here because of St. Millis. That's what unifies us, right? But you guys are divided for some... That's another cool thing, right? Is because Cliff is about St. Millis. And it's like these guys are like super divided when in actuality they should be unionized by this simple notion that they're both devout followers and worshipers of St. Millis. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of cool. Cliff is a cool character. And then the fact that he can even turn around to Rudius and bitch slap him too in this moment is just like, cool, Cliff. You cool, man. You good shit, bro.
Yeah. And see, at this point I was definitely deep into like I have to finish this conflict, like reading to the end, because it's like you get like, well, because then it's like you get the Claire backstory chapter where you really see her perspective on everything and undo that misunderstanding with and just seeing how like, yeah, she's just, she tries to be right and proper, and she's harsh, but she's harsh on herself too. Like, she's fair, she's not unfair, right? Like Norn and Aisha, like she's harsh on Norn because she wants her to do better, but she's not harsh on Aisha because she's like a bastard child. She's harsh on her because she's mean to Norn. And it's like, well, that's the same reason I was bothered by Aisha when she came to Renoa with Norn and Ruijerd, and I was like, Aisha, you need to fucking chill out, And it's like, well, Claire felt the same way, and she just, it didn't. And it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I just love how these the perspective chapters just really do give us so much perspective. Like Zanoba's earlier gave us that. Like Julie's, like they're always really just insightful for how the characters think, and I really appreciate that. And so, like, yeah, here it is again with Claire.
Well, what's the most telling, I think, is not even necessarily. Well, I mean, it is not the most telling, but what's telling physically is she's faced with a 10-year sentence. As already being an old woman, she could very well die while she's behind bars, spend her final years behind bars, when she's only really known, luxury all her life. She is a Latria. She is the one who carries the Latria name, not Carlisle. He got married into the family. So the fact that she's resolute. She's like, oh, and I'm pulling my husband into this too. That's fine. This is my decision. But what breaks her is not any of that. It's Zenith simply looking her mother in her eyes, looking at her mother in her eyes, as if she is still here somewhere, and she's cognizant of what's going on. She's also cognizant of the fact that Claire, as a mother, is doing this for her, like, and that's what makes Claire break down. It's so good. It's so good. Like, oh, she sees Zenith. Zenith is in there.
These two
She's
who,
acknowledging
like, because
her.
they never reconciled really, like, because like Zenith ran away, and that was the last she ever saw or heard of her until literally, like, Rudy came by with her, and she had to be like, she was doing this terrible thing to try and save her, and so she's like being as harsh and stern as ever, right? And it's just but back to I don't know, the fucking I did have just like one of those lists out of the absurdity, just moments of just laughing when we find out that she found out about Ellen Elise, and it's like, oh, it's just like it's one of those. It's just kind of like when Nina went to the school, and I realized that she got beaten up by Body Gotti. This just the realization, like, her real, like, it just everything clicks into place, and just it's like, oh, I was even just thinking about how deeply involved Ellen Elise is with all of this, because she was in an adventuring party with Zenith. She's married to Cliff. Right? Like, and obviously Rudy met her and like, they've already talked about this, and they've already, like, this is all information that Rudy has, more so, like, he has way more than Claire, but, like, she had that misunderstanding because she doesn't see the full picture. She didn't really open up about this with anyone else, and she's just taking it on herself to try and do something horrible to try and save Zenith, and just like, oh, no.
Man.
Fuck.
Oh, man. Yeah, and just, what else do I have to say about this scene in particular? I don't think I have much else to say, at least, other than it's just fucking brilliant. It's like, this is this makes this and one other thing really makes, even if all of this wasn't as good as it was, there was a lot of setup. Admittedly, the Pope conversation, while it's interesting to an extent, I'm just way less that demands my attention way less than everything surrounding Claire and Zenith throughout this entire ordeal. But all of that is worth it to get to this emotional crux where literally all these players come about, and how the Cardinal is completely is completely thwarted in a way. How he even plays a role in this. How Carlisle's little presence is actually really, really felt in this moment, where it's like, oh, he's a justifiable character. We see way less of him than Claire, but he's a very justifiable character. Like, I feel you, Carlisle. Like, I feel you as a character.
Yeah.
Like, you've done enough in my eyes to bolster this story forward and with good momentum. But not just this, but when we get the fucking the blessed child scene.
Okay, well, before that, I want to mention how, like, Rudy's last demand is to be reinstated as a Latria, and I really like that because the way I see it is that, like, Rudy and Claire are kind of the opposites in a lot of ways, because, like, you know, like, they're similar, but, you know, in what ways are they similar? Like, I'd say Rudy's harsh on himself, and that, like, he, you know, he's trying to do better and do, you know, and obviously they care about their families, right? So, like, seeing that from Claire is when he decides that he wants to continue being part of her family, right? Like, because it's like, oh no, we aren't so different, you know, in that way, right? Even though, I
think I'm getting the chronology mixed up, because I was actually going to mention that too, because of how much emotions I felt whenever I read that line where it's like, my last demand is this.
Yes, because the Zenith,
right. This does come before.
That was chapter 6. The Zenith stuff was chapter 7, because this one of the demands was to have the Blessed Child use their ability on Zenith, which was part of the plan anyway. But like, that happens after the conflict is resolved, basically. So, God.
Is this where Claire smiled? No, she doesn't smile.
That was after when chapter 8, when they were leaving.
Yeah. When she says Zenith really did raise a good young man. Oh man, no, I'm getting ahead of it again. But...
No, yeah, it's okay. So anyway, but yeah, next we do get that conflict winds down, and then we get the memory viewing of Zenith and the Blessed Child, giving us Zenith's perspective on basically her whole life, right? And God! Well, I mean, it's been, I think it's been, like, clear enough, but I don't think we've really talked about it, is how Zenith's sort of, like, circumstance is very, like, comparable to, like, real life things you can have with just general, like, especially older people just deteriorating in forms of, like, Alzheimer's and stuff, and just, becoming more or less able, right? Like, where Zenith is, like, she kind of needs, like, regular help, right? But then seeing, I don't know, having this of just, like, seeing her perspective and it's so good.
Well, but yeah, in an odd way, right? Is she has more insight than anyone?
Yeah,
because of her status as a blessed child, she can see, she can literally commune in a way no one else can, to understand the family member she's looking at, or just the person she's looking at. She can see, and so she can see their thoughts. And that's how my interpretation is when Rudius says, I don't know, that's probably not accurate, but like it's similar enough. I think what's actually happening there is Zenith is being 100% accurate. It's just that Rudius can't know this because Zenith is interpreting based on the literal thoughts and memories she's siphoning from all the different family members, right? Like, she is communing in just a different sense, which I say communing, but the only one she's probably truly communing with on that level is Lara.
Yes.
Which is why their bond is so interesting, right? Because Lara can probably, with her meager ability, or maybe because she's the hero, right? Yusha, she might even have like an amplified version.
Maybe.
Of
because she has fucking precognition.
Which is why she was able to feel that
So,
Roxy was in danger, or
yes.
Rudius was in danger unless Roxy went, right?
Yeah.
That could kind of maybe explain that. Maybe it's the same ability or something.
Maybe.
But
I just read it as precognition, but really, I have no idea. And then just like, she, like, her mentioning just like some of the like having conversations with Orsted, where it's like, oh, maybe if Orsted has a similar he has a lot of capabilities. Maybe he's able to do something like that too, if at least responding or being aware. I don't know, something or and
well, I mean, Orsted's definitely not physical or even like in any sense communicating with her, because Orsted would immediately tell Rudy.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're right. Okay, gotcha. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Okay.
But even with Orsted, all Zenith would have to do is look at him, and in his eyes, and then she would be able to see everything about Rudy or Orsted and understand the kind of man he is. Which is why her description is so accurate. Her description is very accurate of Orsted. It's like, he's very scary, but underneath all that scary, he just like wants to be understood, right? Which is very true. With the Orsted we know. It goes back to even with Lucy and how like it's like, oh, I think Orsted likes people who like him because he's really fond of Lucy and he plays with her all the time.
And she gives her helps to teach her with magic, right? Well, and I was gonna say, so one thing, so I guess, did your translation say, Norna and Aisha are grown up now too, and Sylphie had her second baby, which confused me a bit, because when I think of someone like having a baby, I think of like, giving birth to a baby, and not like, in this case, it's just becoming pregnant with, like she is with a baby, but that's, I don't know, just something about the wording confused me, I imagine, I don't know, because I was like, wait, is she having precognition? Is this a thing too? But that, because I was confused, because I was like pretty sure that that Sylphie's second child had not been born. Wait,
what did she say exactly? Sorry?
Sylphie had her second baby. Which again, when I think of someone having a baby, I think of them.
Had as in past tense.
Yeah, which I thought was unusual.
That might. I would figure honestly that's probably just like a mistranslation, mistake. That's what I would chalk it down to, because I don't remember what mine said.
Okay,
I can check real quick.
Yeah, that would be helpful. It just chapter 7. Rudy's grown up into such a wonderful young man is the first line of the paragraph. So
okay, let me look,
because apparently we have different. We might have different translations. So
yeah, let me look. So I gotta go.
Well, same release, but same official, just different editions, rather.
Maybe.
Or
mine could just be like, I don't think mine's fans translated though, because it's literally like.
I don't. I think that I think we talked about I think I remember hearing about one of the earlier versions, dodging around Paul being a rapist, I guess, or something. Okay. So there are different versions. So maybe they removed simps, or they added, probably removed. Maybe, but even then, that's something Rudy would think. It's not like you said it. So.
This is after she talks about Orsted.
Yes. On my page, I see Rudy thinking, "How much of that is true?" Orsted almost never comes to the house, and then after that is the continuation of that's the paragraph. So. Then she talks about Sylphie.
Rudy's grown up in this story. Yeah, Norn and Aisha are grown up now too, and Sylphie had. Yeah, mine also says and Sylphie had her second.
But
baby.
You just didn't think of it dwell on it because
I think I automatically just thought that's a mistranslation or whatever.
Yeah, we already had possible precognitive baby Lara, so I was considering possibly precognitive grandma Zenith. Anyway, moving on. But it's just really good. It made me cry. Of course it did. Because it was just Zenith just being sweet and having this perspective on her family that no one else can, and being happy. I think that's what maybe I didn't realize at the time, but now I'm thinking about it because I still kind of do, less so now, but I work in elder care, and one of the things that was brought up in the training is because a lot of older people with Alzheimer's is sometimes they don't want to be in their situation, and that's very understandable, but we don't necessarily know how they feel because in the case of Zenith, it's she is perfectly happy with everything. She's way more aware of what's going on than you could infer, right? Or that any of the family around her could infer, right? Her being just so accepting of her circumstances and just happy with her life is just really good to see, because they've been trying so hard to save her and make sure everyone around her is trying to make sure she's happy, and she is very happy, but she hasn't been able to get that across to them. as easily, I should say, because obviously she does smile a little bit, occasionally, but like that's not, I don't know. It was just really, really good and insightful to her, and it's just good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I do not blame you for crying. If I was more of a crier, I would have definitely done so as well. Because this is, this means something to me, man. It means something. Like, and Rudius is crying too. Whenever you see this, at some point I noticed that tears were falling. It's like, man, god damn. Zenith peak. Zenith of the medium right here, literally.
Shut up.
Anyway,
but yeah. So anyway, moving on is the Blessed Child becomes an official minion of Orsted, or at least in his camp, thanks to the with the bracelet, or maybe might be chapter 8 actually, but she's
she gets an owl. That's pretty lit.
Yeah, the owl nurse, as he's named, which of course was actually the name Rudy was thinking of for the Blessed Child. And I think only Teresa was the one to catch that. And actually, while skimming, going back, because I was looking for the e-girl simp translation, I did notice that he mentioned the word like nurse liker. He brought up the word in his first description of the Blessed Child, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I didn't notice that. Obviously, remember that when he named the owl. And then Geese admits to Rudy that he's the apostle of the man god. You motherfucker!
Hit him up with that letter.
Yeah.
He knows he would be eviscerated if not for it.
Yeah, and adding make a parallel to them, because like he also lost everything because of the man god, and the man god just like mocked him, which is just, I don't know, I see that because like obviously we know that happened to Rudy, but now it's very clear that like Rudy isn't exceptional in that. Like no, he will deliberately like ruin the lives of his apostles, probably for fun, or as a power trip. Like it's not because like, oh, Rudy was an enemy to me and his descendants were going to kill. No, it's like, no, the Geese wasn't a fucking like going to be responsible for the man god's death. He's just an evil piece of shit. But then for Geese, it's interesting because like, yeah, he's interesting because like obviously old Rudius's response to that was to invent time travel magic and give his life to go into the past and give an alternate version of himself a chance to transcend the man god, basically, where Geese's response is more like, you know what, he's a fucking god, I'm gonna revere that fucking god. And and like especially the way he frames it in the extra chapter of just like this all incredibly powerful being needs someone like me, like I'm gonna fucking help him, really he chose me, really, so I'm gonna god. And just it's just interesting parallel to Rudy in regards to how they are they went through similar experiences but now are on completely opposite sides. So because of course there's also the
I just thought of this based on what you just said. Eureka. So Rudius might have ended up just like that, but Rudius had something far more important, even when he was still following the man god's advice through thick and thin. And that was, he had Dead End, he had Ruidred, he had Eris. And even after Eris left, he always had the notion of, I gotta find Zenith. And before the man god betrayed him too, he led him to another huge bond via Sylphie. So with the man god's betrayal, Rudius, but even still, Rudius was being amicable with him a little bit for the sake of his family.
Yes.
Even knowing that the man god betrayed him.
His first response wasn't to just go against the man god. It was like, I need to kill Orsted, right? Like, I need to get him off. He was continuing to work with the man god, it wasn't because, like, oh, the man god did all this shit for me. And it was because, like, okay, I got to play it safe to protect my family, right? To ensure that Roxy doesn't die in this timeline. Whereas Geese, he actually did have people via the fangs of the Black Wolf. But what happened? They disbanded. They're gone. Yeah.
The fangs of the Black Wolf is an echo of the past now. They all have their own lives, and with it, they left Geese in the dust. He has no one now. So of course, given that the only person he's got now is the man god, of course he'd follow him. The man god gave him so much, just like the fangs of the Black Wolf gave him so much. But they're not here anymore, right?
And the man god is, so he's gonna outlive most of these characters, So
Yeah, it's cool.
Fuck.
That's really really cool. But yeah, Rudius was right to be pointing a stone cannon at him before, and that's in that funny little scene.
Yeah.
Where he's like, Geese, I never would have thought you're an apostle of the man. And everyone's like, yeah. And Geese is like, yeah. I guess before we talk more about Geese's shit, we can talk about Eris and the Blessed Child.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny when the Blessed Child finally tells Eris, she's like, I don't have a name. And Eris is like, oh, names? Who needs them? Which is really funny. It's cute because like Eris so easily discarded her Boreas name, right?
Yes.
Where she lowered herself to just a simple gray rat without so much as a second thought, because what actually mattered was being with Rudius, not her name, not her lineage. So, because that's where the power comes in names, right? Is in the last name, is in the family name, is in the whereas like to Eris, the only name that matters is Rudius.
Yeah.
In a sense. So it's funny. Anyway, yeah.
But before that, we do get the moment you brought up earlier with Claire smiling and saying that Zenith raised a good sign. And it's just, good smile.
Good. Good stuff.
Very good. But
yeah. Great
but no, yeah, the Eris chapter was good. Oh, that was it. That was the translation thing. Did you have the line, Rudius's jimmies are still rustled from Eris?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it's an older phrase than I know of, but I'm familiar with it from 4chan. Because it became a meme. Because it got transformed a bit. I remember it specifically got attached to a gorilla on a box of like cereal, where it's like, my jimmies remain unrustled, because the monkey looked calm. And then or people would use the name James Russell when like doing trolly stuff. So I just thought I thought it was weird because it came from Eris and not Rudy. Right? Because at least which is also similar to the problem you had with Auber saying rocket punch, because rockets don't really.
Now that you're saying this, I should have had a similar problem with it. I guess I just glanced over. It did sound like, because it is very online-y. Eris wouldn't. Yeah, now that you're saying that, I should have caught that.
Yeah, because it's like I was trying to remember, like, wasn't there a translation somewhere that bothered me, and I just stumbled across it. I was like, oh, there it was. It was I found it, because it's just again, the e-girl simps, like, that's Rudy. I could understand that. Like, that's fine to me, even if it, I was literally saying the same function, it's functionally the same thing, which is what made you remember it and want to bring it up. But this one, I just thought it was like, that's not good. I don't like that one. Not a fan. I mean, overall, I don't have the original Japanese or alternate translations, but I do think the translation is good overall. But there's, it's 26 volumes. There's bound to be a few choices we aren't a fan of, right? So, it doesn't indict the whole thing, but it's definitely, I don't like that one. So, but anyway,
but last thing I'll say about this chapter is, I vote the Blessed Child for the next Sword God. I believe in her. I believe in her.
Though it was also sad when she reads Eris's memory and finds absolutely none of her, and it's like Eris is literally just head empty. But anyway, so next extra chapter. Go ahead.
This reminds me about rankings, God, and everything. It reminds me. I should have mentioned earlier too, because even when it comes to like where Eris sets as being a sword king, when Nina came up to her, technically, if she was still at the Sword Sanctum and beat Ghislaine there, she would have been promoted to an emperor, given what Galfarian said.
Well, and like I said, she did beat Ghislaine later. That's
what I'm saying is that if she was still there, she would have been the sword emperor if she fought Ghislaine there.
Right.
So the fact of the matter is like she's sword emperor level at this point.
No, yeah, kind of like how Rudy's, or as Cliff theorizes, Rudy's on the cusp of being divine. Which is insane. It's her. I think of her and him and Eris as both being sort of like uncrowned in regards to their sort of true ranks in a sense. But anyway, then we had the Therese chapter was just really funny. I think of just her like running at a marriage meeting and running into a coworker and and her, well, especially like the way that she was like, maybe this can work, and then she tries to like seduce him, and then she realizes that, oh right, he's an otaku. Which funnily enough, I just in a book I read called Paradox of Harmony, which talks about a number of various issues in Japan, societal issues in Japan that led to or made worse the Fukushima disaster. It goes in a few different directions that don't directly relate to it, and one of them was talking about how due to various social issues in Japan, you do have like lots of men who are like otaku and into those interests, and they bring up like magazines and stuff talking about like women having to like if tips for dating an otaku, basically, and one of the like recognizing that like if you're going to be with someone who like cares about like anime or like idols more than you, like that doesn't have to be a deal breaker, basically. But in Teresa's case it was, because she was like, maybe this could work, and he's like, no, but the blessed child, and it's like, oh yeah. So that was just an interesting real life parallel I thought about, because and also just you were just testing me, right? And it's like because she was actually trying to seduce him.
I love how supportive Claire is too, and how we get the revelation where Claire was like, well, it's not that I necessarily gave up on you, it's just that like you said you didn't want me to help you find a spouse, and you left, and like that was that. So
and Teresa's like,
but hey, if you're willing to come back, like I'll fully support you. Like Claire is like such a good mom. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, she respected Teresa's wishes. Teresa's just stupid and forgot her wishes, or forgot her old wishes and changed her mind, and then just expected Claire to. And the fact that this is like a regular thing, like because I think Claire even like mentions or brings up the fact that like, you're always doing this where you change your mind and expect everyone else to realize that you changed your mind. And Teresa's like, oh, fuck. So they're good.
Spitting facts on me right now. Shit. Yeah. So the fun chapter. I enjoyed the extra chapter. I like Therese. So. But the fucking crazies extra chapter.
Yeah. Fucking Geese. And then just getting a lot of her perspective, and them being the sort of like opposed, Geese gathering allies for the man god while Rudy gathers allies for Orsted. They're building up to the final battle. The final stage has already been set, in fact.
Baby.
Oh man. And then right, okay, you know what, now I'm realizing, I mean, you don't have to say anything, but I'm reading a note I had, and it's like, because I just like, oh, this person is like someone else who lost to Orsted and is seeking to grow stronger to fight him, and it's like, oh, that like sword god okay, all right. It didn't click with me, but if that is him, I mean, maybe, probably, I'll but anyway, and I like their conversation, where of course, like, he's like, he's gotten that sort of like revelation, that vision to kill the ice drake or the frost wyvern or the ice worm or whatever the fuck they called it. And then he meets Geese, and just Geese's response was good. Like I brought it up earlier, of just hey, the man god needs me, so I'm gonna help him, and it's that simple.
Yeah, that I think really, like, obviously I don't think we had this in the web novels, but this is like really good context for Geese's goal. I think this is like actually pretty necessary to help justify his characters, because he's essentially like the number one threat right now. He represents, just as Rudius represents Orsted, Geese is the one that represents the man god. So
yeah. Well, and I think especially like because framing it with like what you were talking about earlier, where how like he kind of had nothing left except the man god, right? Like he was he lost his family, he lost his home, he the Black Wolf, the wolf, his adventuring party broke up, and he was just a drifter. Like he has no one else, right? And so he's accepted the only one who accepted him, right? Which again, oh god, you can kind of contrast
because the extent. By the way, the extent of that, what I was getting at earlier is, had he still been a member of the Fangs of the Black Wolf and those bonds persisted, especially given that Rudius is Paul's son, he probably would have never obeyed the man god's command.
Even with the curse, which would have made him like trust the man god. Like it's like, as we see with Luke, it's not all binding, right? So but I was gonna say, I was just thinking about how I was trying to contrast with Rudy's, because Rudy he was accepted by lots of people, right? Like Sylphie and Roxy and Eris, and they accepted all of him. And I was just thinking about how like that put him on a very different path where, where Geese, that like they both sort of like went along with the ones who accepted them. And for Geese, it just was the man god because he had no one else, which is similar to Pax in that like Rudy was recognized and Pax wasn't. Geese was accepted by the man god, and Rudy was accepted by lots of people, especially his wives and the people in his family, the people he cares about the most, right? I think I was gonna say something else. I forget what it was. It would have been about Geese, I guess, but I don't know. It's interesting stuff. It's really exciting. And I'm very curious to see how it all plays out. I could read more. Will I read more tonight? Who knows?
Possibly. I mean, we got another over 3-hour discussion out of this.
Well, I gotta pace myself because the problem is what'll happen. What especially happened when I read when I was editing the reading for volume 13 through 15, is editing the reading and listening to my discussion, or our discussion rather, made me want to read more. So I'd like read a chapter and then I edit another like 20 minutes and I'd read another chapter. So my fear that didn't happen as much last time, but I need to like edit this discussion sooner because like if I read half the book tonight, which I won't because I gotta go to bed, and then edit the pod, like I might just be done by the reading by the time the podcast finishes editing and is uploaded. I need to pace myself with this shit because it's like it's good and I'm looking forward to reading more.
Well, I got nothing else to say. I'm just excited for the setup to the final confrontation because that's a big battle we're building up to, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
And Geese is getting his pieces on the board. What will Rudius's pieces be? The question.
Oh yeah, no, because that is one thing that they did mention. As they're gonna move for Randolph first, basically. So whether they get him is another thing, but that was like first on the to-do list was reach out to Randolph because he's strong and
he's a cool guy.
Yeah, and obviously it's like, well, if they don't want to be up against him for sure. So it's like we should get him as an ally. That would probably be better safe than sorry. What? Oh yeah. Also, I thought it was cute that Claire and Zenith went to go see a play, and Zenith was really happy about going to see a play with her mom. Or no, and Claire was happy too. Apparently, it was cute. So many good.
And how even though she was frowning, her entourage could tell like this is the happiest she's been in like
yes,
a long
exactly.
fucking time. I thought it was really fun.
Oh yeah, and also the demand Rudy made of Claire of just like by the way, stop being racist because one of my wives is a demon and you have like you have a great granddaughter who is a demon, so you should probably not be racist.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah. Which of course, in a way, like obviously she's just one person, but she's Rudy's slightly strengthening the pro demon integration side of the conflict, and obviously they got to also with the Blessed Child being on Rudy's side and Orsted's side, and I don't know. It's just things seem better for Millis.
Things seem better for Millis when they don't seem to be too important in Orsted's.
What's the
word I'm looking for?
Vision of the world, I guess, or scene rather, not anyway. I don't think I have anything more to say.
Sorry, at the end here there will be like 5 seconds of echo for me because my earbuds died. My other one died.
Oh shit!
So
well, we're almost done. So anyway, next time we are reading volume 22 and 23, and they're gonna be cool. I'm sure. I'm looking forward to them.
Yeah, brother. We're getting to the final stretch now.
Yep. Oh my god, 3 more
boy.
episodes. We'll probably be done by March.
And then only 2 more of like the
main
story.
Yeah. And then we'll read other things. I have some ideas, but anyway. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time. Happy New Year.
Guys.
Bye.